Good afternoon to our viewers. 40 people by the people. Momodou Ndow. Nina bro. Money. Not much. It's good to see you. First time on 40 people by the people.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Look forward.
Jërëjëf Mo.
Wow.
Nakam.
Coach,
Fine.
yeah.
Gaay bakaw yi la.
Madu Bakaw Chalo. Bakaw Chalo.
Wow.
So Momodou Ndow, yo, this Bakaw Banjul rivalry, time is soccer bobulin. You're a part of you, Banjula, part of you, Bakaw. How do you used to kind of work it out?
I don't know, because I think when I moved to Bacau, because it was at a young age at 10, so when you get into adolescence, time over Mumafeka Bacau. So even though Banjo gave Banjul, but I think my loyalty was kind of leaned towards Bacau because for last decade the Muna recognize football, the Muna gets the football, even though you would recognize people from Banjul, but your loyalty kind of sticks with where you are at that time, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, Banjul is Banjul and has always been a center for culture and for vibrancy and for everything, because everything everywhere else was kind of dull, and everybody kind of looked up to Banjul. That's why everybody wanted to gravitate towards Banjul. Could you have school like Banjul Gabugadem, ku pare ligay Banjul Gabugadem, so for that reason. But Banjul is not like that anymore, so.
It's different. Nobody lives there anymore.
Léegi fi mu nekk gaa ngi waxantoo yeneen place yu dul Banjul,
Well, can they could Banjul anyway? Nobody lives.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's why I've always argued that it doesn't make any sense for Banjul to have 3 constituencies. For what? They are less than 2 people living there.
So they get anti-Banjul.
No, I'm not anti. I'm not
anti-Banjul. Every issue you have issues with Banjul.
But what is the justification for Banjul? What is the justification for Banjul to have 3 constituencies?
Constituency on every West alone. No, be after that. Momodou Ndow, I mean, he has a short time. We never have an engagement.
No, why I actually have 2 hours instead of 1. So I Mangla sent message to clarify, because the mami's my calculation was off a little bit because it's 10, not 11 o'clock. Because you guys.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay, that's a good thing.
So let's go back to Banjul. The whole constituency, the whole Banjul as one, has about 30,000 voters. Serekunda West alone has almost 300,000 voters.
Coach, you cannot base it on that. California, how many millions do we have?
Exactly.
But in California,
how many Senate seats do we have?
2. State of Rhode Island, the smallest state, has 2 Senate seats.
But how many members of House of the Representatives do you have? That is based on your population. Wow, Senate minimum is equal, but you cannot have 3 constituencies in Banjul. It doesn't make sense,
bro. You've always had problems with Banjul. Not only
I have never had money.
Wow, Banjul. We have issues with that.
But that
has always complex. That's what he has.
That has always been the thing, though. There was this, wa Banjul then Fokli, wa Banjul then Foklele. For the most part, it's never the case. It's just people like projecting, and thinking.
And that's what people like him. That's what they do.
But you see, I think that's the biggest mistake, because my guys were from Banjul, Banjul and Judo, and then
it doesn't matter. But how come do you take this position though on every issue? Forget about even the politics. You've always.
What have I said? Money, because yen xam nga yow sa mask da ngeen danga ben danga bo xamne ni ñun ñu joge jëm Senegal. What is there other than pahi ak poto
ak yoy.
Wow, yoy ak danga budur hadije.
Ak negi printing.
Wala nga say dala.
Wow, o jog nan la ye man Lancaster la joge, or go have Fatu Lamanwa T road. And you look at it, I'm like, what is so special about this place that you're talking about anyway?
Lancaster Moto Munufa U-turn. So what are you gonna brag?
Thank you very much.
Why is not Lancaster alone? Gloucester Munufa U-turn. Why, at least if you're talking about a city that is organized, structured, planned, you go to places like in the Combos, they don't have that Pasamba. So if you guys don't even put together.
But Musa, with all that structure, Banjul Mogena till him everywhere.
Thank you very much.
But not anymore, though. Not anymore. The Banjul of today, though.
Yeah.
It's really up there. But Mo, we're gonna jump onto this issue.
Sure.
You had this on Facebook. And I'm sure most people know about Momodou now. You're out there. And I mean, your contributions, you are witty, you're a hell of a writer, you are funny, and you are one person. When you write in vernacular, I can read it easily. Not everybody is like that. Seriously.
Thank you.
Even when I try to write in Wolof, sometimes I run into problems. But for you, it just comes natural. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Because he went to Nusrat. Because he went to Nusrat and not Gambia High School.
He writes in Wolof Pasamba, you do not. It's just like
he went to Nusrat, not Gambia High School. He went to a proper school. So
they're so easy to read. I mean, you want to comment on that, Momodou? You really a hell of a writer, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I think I want to. Before I even start the conversation, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that everything that I write is my opinion. I don't claim to be an expert in anything, and I don't think my opinion is as valid, is more valid than anybody else's. But I just try to contribute in the conversation that we're having to try to dig ourselves out of the hole that we're in. So I just want to make that disclosure, and I put it out there. And if it resonates with people, salam. If it doesn't, salam. And then Purman, it's just about having that conversation and learning from each other and trying to have that discussion devoid of emotions, and with respect and dignity and tact. But as far as the writing goes, I think it's just about exploring my talent, because sometimes people don't allow themselves to explore their talent because they don't think that, okay, I can do it or whatever. They have some reservations. But I think allowing that growth to happen, because in life we all have some type of talent. Some will explore it and some will not, and it depends on the individual and their willingness to follow their passion. So, and I think that's where it comes from, and I think living in Banjul and moving to Bakau and then moving to here has allowed me to really be able to navigate, and be able to express myself, because sometimes self-expression is what's going to get you places, and it's what's going to open doors for you. So it's just part of exploring my expression and as a person, and it's an art. It's because writing is an art. I mean, some people, that's how one writer is better than the other, because of the way they manipulate words. Because writing is all about manipulating words, using words at the right time, using it in the right context, and using it to have the most impact. So Purman, it's just basically that. So that's how I write. It just comes naturally. I don't try to force a write. Oh, harama write def komu funny. It just comes out, because that's just who I am.
But you're funny though. I mean, you really. I don't know whether you intentionally do that or you're just witty. You have the skills, but you are funny. I'm telling you. Even when
and I think it's practice too. Yeah, it's practice. If you just allow, so because writing on Facebook. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, your time in high school don't been any," but time in high school can more than been there. We just turn in our essays and they mark it and they give it to us, right? Because there was no platform to really express yourself.
Right.
Journalists like you that did been there, and then you see them still living it. But other than that, there were no other platforms for people to really.
You can actually.
Yeah. So it's just this growth process.
Yeah, also we just Sulayman Ba, Dr. Ba just joined us. Want to welcome him. Sulayman, this is not your first time. I mean, you've been on this platform before. So how are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you, Uncle Musajeng. Greetings, Uncle Jao, Sariang,
Okay, Sarian,
and Mr. Ndow.
Suleiman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There is one rule here. You cannot call me uncle and call Musajeng uncle. You know, I will be grandpa and I will be uncle. You know, that's how it works. You know, it's not even close.
No, it's not grandpa.
But man, it's good to see you always. And Pasaba is always reminding me that when are you gonna go and take over the Ndow leadership? He's always telling me that. He's gonna go and become
he's my next successor.
Ndow and Bokar Ba, greetings. Ndow yange wone sa guns here, huh? We showing the guns,
The man I pray to them Jim Tedu. Let's meet at the park.
When are you gonna take your buddy to the gym, man? You know?
And that's another thing. Momodou Ndow, I have to talk about this. You are also, personally, I think you are an independent. And any time I come and put out my independent credentials, they could say, hey, if you independent, I'm the Momodou Ndow. You are why you are independent, mom?
No, why because they always claim that I was joy, you know, especially Biba Halifa UAFI when I went and then took that picture when I gave him a copy of that satire that I wrote, and you know, he loved it. So, but so that was the evidence that I am joy, you know. So I guess if Dabo or anybody was supposed to come here, then then that would mean that I am.
And that would make you to be.
So, but then
we'll take you in Ndow, you know, in a heartbeat. So,
so because then I will become biased, because I don't want that, because then I will be, you know, sympathetic to bias. But put Mandal, I just want to hold our police stations accountable and our government accountable, and I just want to stand alone. If nobody is standing with me, fine. If everybody wants to join, that's you know, that's their prerogative. But I just want to be independent.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. Your writing speaks for itself. I think you are always very critical, and one cannot see any kind of partisanship that one can hang its head on. Definitely. But Momodou, the reason why we reached out to you, obviously, there was a post that you on leadership. That I'm like, wow, maybe we need to kind of have a conversation and flesh this thing out. Very interesting. You started out by saying we will continue to struggle because we believe that leadership revolves around our own self-interest, power, and control. This is the biggest misconception we have in our society, and it always manifests itself in our leaders, regardless of their level. That is Momodou Ndow. Leadership should be about having a vision and inspiring your people to achieve the vision. How one views leadership matters. Our lack of understanding of leadership is why people quickly become, and here he goes again with words, and feel entitlement there in a leadership role. There are too many people in our political sphere who are seeking leadership for their own personal interests, power, and control. In a society where leadership is seen as a means of self-enhancement, he went on, self-enhancement, power, and control, development will be scarce. We are not interested in collective power to preserve our dignity, but rather in individual or kabudu power. He said, this is the cause of all the dishonesty, hostility, and insult you see every day. If I had a guess, I would say that 90% of those in leadership roles lack the necessary leadership qualities. And it's apparent in their communication and behavior. Leadership is not about kufang, it's about having foresight and bringing out the best in others. We're quick to say, Yu Sangam for president or some other position. I hope I'm not Yu Sangam, without vetting their leadership skills. So Momodou, and you went on and on and on. Can you kind of flesh it out for us? What are you trying to say, especially in leadership in the Gambia, whether it's the politics or whether it's on Facebook? what are you trying to say? When you,
what
was the thinking? What was the inspiration for you to write this? If I could put it
because I think whatever I am saying, we all know. Some choose to notice it, and some choose not to, because even from time Jawara, Hedna Jawara, you can excuse that a little bit because it was after colonialism and he just took over, but there was no vision, because if Jawara had vision, 30 years is more than enough to manifest your vision, right? So, and it's not just the leadership, because we the people make people that are leading us about them, because we worship them, we sing and dance for them, we go to them, and that is where the kufang comes from. And some of these people, they are working for us. So why should we be chasing them and dancing when they are not delivering, calling them honorable? Every time somebody gets into leadership, the next thing you know, they are building a house, they start marrying wives, they're driving SUVs. Where does that money come from? Right? It's the public money that they're using. And we have seen that over and over again during Jawara, during Yaya Jammeh, now. And if we don't try to change our mentality regarding leadership, it's going to continue, because most people, they get in. Some of these things, we already know that these people have bad attitude, but we will elect them into leadership anyways, right? Look at the parliamentarians. As soon as they got in, it was about them, how they were going to get loans for house, how they were going to get cars, how they were going to get this, that, and the other. So it's always about them, and we also make it about them. So I think it's the misconception that we have about leadership. So in a nutshell, the people that are governing us don't know how to govern, and we, the people that are being governed, don't know how to be governed.
Interesting. Can you tell us, what is leadership, and how do you identify Kini is a good leader, or he has leadership qualities? How do you go about doing that? If it is not a subjective matter, I can look at this person and say, oh, he has the leadership qualities. You can look at another person and say he has the leadership qualities. What in God's name is leadership, and how do you identify that?
Well, you look at people and see how they carry themselves, number one. Do they have empathy in the people that they lead? And do they have a vision, right? And leadership also should start from a very young age, because right now, let's say in STEM, right, they are putting programs out there, new ways of teaching children, where the teaching is not about bringing them and giving them subjects. It's more about inquiry-based teaching or project-based teaching, where the students themselves identify what question they want to answer, what they're interested in, and then you put them in groups to collaborate. So in that group, then the kids will decide in that group who will lead that project. So this is from a very young age. So this is how you start identifying leaders, from a very young age. I know, but I'm just giving this example so that we can start thinking about this for the future. But as far as Gambia goes, we really never had good example of leaders. So every leader that comes about is what they saw from the other person that was there before them, right? And you become a leader, you get called honorable, you got called all this for them, New York, living, and they get engrossed in that, they get sucked into that because of the ego. So we massage their ego too much. So unless we start identifying people that really have the right character and the right vision and the empathy, because those are very important. Barrow, look at what Barrow is doing right now. It's about him. So he got the parliamentarian to push that presidential retirement bill, right? We all know that nothing is working. So if nothing is working, why do you deserve such compensation after you leave? Because it's always about them, and we make it about them. The parliamentarians made it about him, and they also made it about them by putting bills also for them to be given cars and all these things. So we have to start thinking critically and vetting people. So we have to come up with a vetting process. There is no path to leadership in Gambia. Anybody can just jump from Nyamukono and be a leader. That's what happened in Jammeh, right? And Barrow, we just pulled him from nowhere because it was convenient. And then nobody ever vetted nothing. And then we just put him there, and then insisted that he was the leader, right? I think with Barrow, man, first time I knew that he wasn't going to be the right person was even before he got nominated. When he got selected at the UDP rally, and when he was introduced as the leader, and this was the time that Dabo was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
He was introduced as the leader, and he comes out. I think the video, I've seen it not too long ago. It was him who sold that yellow like thingy, and there was some gala-galas around, and he was being introduced. So as the new leader, he was told that he was the new leader. He was selected for UDP, right? So he comes out and saying that, so if you are selected as a leader, why are you saying that somebody else is, who is no longer in the picture and in jail? So because he was not ready for leadership, right? That should have been a red flag right there. If you are giving leadership, you come out and take the leadership regardless of who was there before you. Look at Jomai, right? Jomai came out, Sonko and Jomai. Sonko was disqualified. You put Jomai, he took on the role. Right? So you have to be able to accept leadership and take over the role and own it to be able to be a leader. And that's why Barrow is struggling, because he really he just took the opportunity, but he knows that he's not a good leader. And he told us. And his plan was just to do 3 years and leave and go back to his business and his life, right? But then Mutuga, just like I said, we made it about him. So he stayed and fired everybody around him just so that he could stay. Right? So unless we start thinking critically about some leadership issues, and that was why I brought it up, because sometimes we are too busy in the noise, and we cannot have a conversation devoid of honesty, because then that just equals noise. So we have to address some of these issues that we know that has happened in the past. And if we don't address it and we're just scrambling for power, things will never change, because those issues will keep lingering unless they are properly addressed. So I'm not sure if I answered your question. There was a little bit of rambling there, but I just wanted to just give a general overview of my thoughts of leadership and how I see things in Gambia, and,
Absolutely.
and the need for the conversation.
Absolutely. Brother Sariang.
Now, Coach, go ahead.
Yeah, welcome, Modu. Very, very good discussion, definitely, when it comes to leadership. And it so happened this morning, I had a conversation through WhatsApp audio with Karamba Toure, because I saw this video of Jumai, and he was talking about the life of the farmer and the difficulties that they go through and all that. So I sent it to Karamba naturally, because he is always into farming. Every day he is showing us what he has harvested, and I know how much interest he has in this. And when you talked about the lack of vision or the need for leaders to have it, I listened to the guy, and I hope that he would come as advertised. And I see somebody who has a plan, who has a vision, and wants to do right, but of course has to be guided rightly. In the Gambia, you talked about this issue that we have, the Jayate, because that's what we do. You say something and everybody would make you look like you are a demigod. And now people even run for office without being elected. They call them honorable. Now even members of the local councils, the councils or whatever they call them, councils, are now honorable. I didn't see that happening when I was in the Gambia. Now everybody is honorable. But do you think too that the lack of nationalism in Gambians is also the reason why we have this run of poor leadership, not only from the presidents, those that are presidents, but even those that serve in all capacities? Because you talk about the issue that we have where people think of self and more so than what is in the greater good of everybody. Would you agree that maybe it is high time that we start nurturing our young people from a very young age, from primary school, to put the interest of the nation ahead of their personal interest, because you've never been taught that. You know, take it in your rek. You come home, you have a car, we do not care where it comes from.
Right.
Minister ka fum neka am ga car Sunday sena. I went to school the same. We went to school with you. Maybe have better grades. I don't have it. Key take you.
Right.
So meaning that your self-advancement is put ahead of the national advancement. So would this be cured, these leadership problems that we've had, by at least nurturing the next generation of Gambians to put the country ahead of themselves?
Yeah, and I think that's why I gave the reason of the new STEM teaching, where because we have to start creating a path to leadership, and it has to start from a very young age, and you have to instill that in kids. And for me, that's why I focus when it comes to writing. I decided to write a book for children, because when it was just, I was like, okay, this makes sense. So let me do it for children, because I think our generation is already a foregone conclusion, because everybody is already, in their own ways and dating, so to speak, so it's hard to maybe change for some, because kudeka finger japa yang fa japa. So it is easier to mold children as they grow up. And that's where education comes in. Right now in Gambia, the only thing that matters, right, wahi politics, entertainment, and all these other things that are not going to advance the society, right? Where nobody is talking about education, nobody is talking about agriculture, nobody is talking about innovation, right? So we now live in this digital world, right? So we all have this digital citizenship that we use to express our views, right? Everything I need, any information, is right here on the palm of my hands, on my phone, right? So education now has changed. It's almost like you can be educated in real time, right? The days of memorizing facts are now gone and not even necessary, because every fact that I need, I have right here, right? I can just Google anything. I can just go to some website or some video. Things are happening in real time. So before, things happen, and then you wait for the newspaper, and then you're wondering whether, it has been, altered or not. But now, if Barrow is giving a speech in Gambia, I am here. I can listen to the speech right in real time and know exactly what happened, right? So we are learning in real time. So education has to change. So and we have to try to explore those ideas and try to mold the next generation. And that's where vision comes from. Right? Barrow's government is not thinking about the next generation. They're just thinking about how they want to win the next election. Right? In 2013, I went to Oslo, Norway, and I was having a conversation with Yama Jaita's daughter's husband. It was maybe around 20-something, early 20s. And I think the dad either works for the Norwegian government or the uncle or something. And we're having this conversation because the Mafademe in 2013, they were starting building high rises and stuff. So they were building like a real downtown, because Norway has always, they have the money, but then so now they were getting into really building infrastructure, nice downtown. So he told me that Norway has a 50-year development, 50 years development in the pipeline. So in the next 50 years, right, that development will take place, right, regardless of the change of government. So that's what leadership is, that's what vision is, right? Because 50 years, Gambia, we don't even have a 5-year plan, right? We only have the next election plan, and that plan is just how to win it and stay in power, or how to get into office. So unless we start thinking long-term, because the short-term, not much can happen. So we have to start thinking long-term. And I think we need leaders that are going to have that vision and think about it and see how we can set our sights, not for tomorrow or day after, but for the next 10, 15 years, because we have no plans for the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, so you're right, because there is something that you said, the Jayate, because the leadership is one thing, but the education, the political education of our people too is another. And it's not only unique to us, because we've seen even the United States here.
Yeah.
If you have people like Donald Trump being treated like a demigod, by some people, to the extent that they would in fact be scared to say anything against him for fear of losing their seats. Musa Jeng's girlfriend, Marjorie Green, or whatever that lady's name is, the crazy one, and then you have people like the Bobbies, but America can afford that. They can afford craziness because they've built institutions that will be able to resist that. We have not.
Yes.
I remember when Barrow came in, I was just reviewing something that I wrote 7 years ago. I'm not even going to get into it. Madi Jobate started calling him servant-in-chief. And Madi was hounded, attacked, and insulted because they felt that he was disrespecting.
Yeah.
Barrow. So the sycophancy took hold.
Yeah.
We started clapping for him. And then all of a sudden, he became bigger than what we expected he was going to become. And now we are going back to ground zero. But do you think, too, that as we nurture leaders, we should also politically educate our people so that they would also understand their importance as to we are the people who appoint these people to leadership. So they cannot be any greater than us.
Yeah, and yeah, that's like you rightly pointed. America has institutions and they can afford. America is much older than Gambia. They've been building, so it's not just gonna come crashing down that easily, even regardless of Donald Trump's ridiculous behavior, right? And the sycophancy. But Gambia is different. We're still developing. We're still building. Our education system is still weak, right? Because America has people, the government doesn't really do much. Most of the innovation and research and everything is done by universities, right? And the government sponsors these universities to do it, and then they do their research, and then they bring it to, so this is how they adopt their new policies and all that. So they have the depth, they have the resources, and we don't. So politically, we used to take civics and stuff, but they were just informing us about the positions in the government and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it was political education, right? They were just informing us about, certain things. So they were not educating us about the love for country, right? If you see a Nigerian, even if you're third generation Nigerian anywhere in the world, you claim that you are Nigerian, right? Now, what do Gambians do? We don't even want our kids speaking our language, right? We go, oh, mom like togai. So we are pulling our kids away from our culture. So unless we become more proud as Gambians, regardless of our economic situation, I'm not the you get a poor Gambia, but they are proud to say that they are from there, right? So there has to be this love for nation, right, instead of self. So I think it's new day because they pit us against each other. Daga wara take if we holal samoromili. So competition bit of they start at a very young age. And then today daga juga si household bo have the days domi by you do Jeffy, then it's a disaster, right? Because we are always at each other. So you bring they collaborate, and it is collaboration that moves society. So these tech companies, they are in direct competition with each other, but they do collaborate, right? So they may Google or some they may in the mangle. I'll see it, okay, you collaborate. I see all their apps together there. I can from there choose send to WhatsApp, email. That's collaboration, and they are in direct competition. So you can collaborate and still have your economic benefit and move society. So unless we start teaching our children about politics and that the leaders are working for us, if I go to work, my boss doesn't call me honorable. They're paying me, right? I'm working for them. So they make sure that I do my job, and we need to make sure that they do their job instead of singing and dancing behind them. And I think we need to teach kids at a very young age that this is what needs to be happening. This is what leadership means. And this is your role as a citizen to hold leaders accountable. Because if they come and they say they're going to do X, Y, Z, and we could even start practicing that in the classrooms, right? Because you put them, like I was saying, STEM. Now they are teaching in real life situations. We could start modeling these types of teaching in schools. You put things together, in a political setting and have them campaign. Somebody wins the election and they say they're going to do this and do that. And then you see if they're going to do it. And then people start challenging them and holding them responsible. So there are ways out there, but we are too busy with just focusing on self and not really focusing on the next generation. And I think if we don't start doing that sooner than later, we're just going to keep falling behind, and then just noise.
Brother Sariang,
Yes.
Sailor.
Hey, Momodou, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome,
you're talking about leadership, and there was a lot of things in between.
Yeah.
But from my position, I think a leader, needs to understand our goals and our purpose, whether it be a president, be a CEO, or a director of a company.
Yeah.
So if you're referencing, for instance, our country as a president, what is the purpose? What is the goal? And what are the objectives of why you occupy that office? Also, the leader must also understand clearly their decision. If it's inconsistent with our goals and our purpose, then it's a conflict. Then, the masses will start misunderstanding him. I know you made a reference about Barrow yes, all of us sitting here had high hopes by 2016 because of the leadership that we had to deal with for 22 years, and we had transition. Hopes were high, a lot of expectation, but the fact that there was again, the delivery and the expectation was not in par with our goals and aspirations. For example, we still have poor healthcare, we have poor energy infrastructure, high commodity, rampant corruption. So how do you dissect these two parallels in terms of leadership?
Yeah. So you just mentioned Barrow and high hopes, right? There was really no high. The only hope was to get Yaya Jammeh out and Barrow stay for 3 years. Nobody was asking Barrow to come and give us healthcare and give us all this, right? So the purpose for Barrow was basically Barrow was the tool that we were going to use to change our leadership, which was Yaya Jammeh that we're having to deal with and all the mayhem he caused in Gambia, right? So Barrow was not there to start building stuff or give us healthcare or other. We were just supposed to transition, right? So again, it comes to greed and personal, leadership being about you. That's how everything fell apart, right? Because we see it as something for self-enhancement, right? So if we had stuck to the plan, maybe today we will be having a different conversation. The trajectory might have been different by now, right? So I think with that Barrow, and even for CEOs, like here, companies hire leadership coaches all the time to come to jobs and talk to people and inspire them, inspire CEOs. CEOs are not just sitting, they are enhancing themselves to become better leaders by hiring coaches that come and tell them, hey, this is how you need to run your company, this is how you need to treat your people. And things are changing every day because now information, everything, we're moving at this lightning speed because we are all interconnected and have our digital citizenship that we're using to share our views about anything. Like people in Gambia, something happens in America, they're sharing their views. So we all have that digital citizenship to be able to chime into everything. So unless we start forcing our leaders, right, and by being honest, and so this personal thing, personal interest, is what's causing the dishonesty. That's why I think people take it so personal if you challenge their leadership, because it's about them. So they think that you're taking money out of their pocket, Bugulo you take it. So that's why they insult you. That's why they take it so personal, because they've made it about them. So unless we start thinking about us, so instead of, it's more like personal good instead of common good. So it's the mindset. So, and I think you can only change mindset for the next generation. It's going to be hard to change the mindset now. I mean, because people, sometimes people, even if they're convinced, they're not used to taking the truth, they will still deny it because they feel that that truth doesn't interest them because of their mindset. So this leadership thing, I'm not saying it for now because it's going to be hard for now based on our way of thinking and the resources we have and maybe the effort that we'll be willing to invest in it. Right? So I think we need to be looking at the next generation, and whatever leadership we have or whoever is vying for office needs to start thinking about that. We need to start focusing because, like I said, I think right now it's a foregone conclusion for our generation. So we are trying to make the ground fertile for the next generation, and that's where we need to start shifting our focus on by having these long-term goals and about leadership and bringing people also that will teach kids about leadership. Leadership coaches are everywhere now. Thinking about leadership coaches having empathy for the people, having a vision, and inspiring people that are on you to, like, if I go to work right now and my boss says, "Oh, I give you this project, go ahead and do it," and then I do it, and then they reward me, inspire me. You can do it. Come to me if you have any questions. I'm here. I get inspired by that, right? I'll go 10 miles over the limit to try to inspire, because they've shown me that I have ownership in this and they trust me. So that's inspirational. And leaders have to start doing that in Gambia and Africa for that matter, to show our people that, hey, we can do this. Everywhere else, Israel is so small right now, right? But they have power and they have influence because of unity. Right? And we seek power to suppress each other instead of to unite and then preserve our dignity. America is seeking economic power; they have economic power. China is seeking economic power. India, technological power. But what are we doing? Individual power, just to suppress each other. So we have to, and that's the mindset that needs to change. And leadership has a lot to do with that, by guiding us the right way. And we as a people also need to be hiring people or electing people that we think are here to represent everybody else, regardless of your ethnicity, your political affiliation, you name it, your gender, whatever. So that is when progress is going to start. We're going to start seeing progress.
Dr. Sulayman Ba, I know, you're here to talk about.
But I gotta ask my second.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I'm really sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right.
I lost track.
All right, but no, thank you very much. Sometimes I think about it, and I think this whole issue in a larger context. You mentioned Jawara before. Mm-hmm. And I think this problem has been there even before Barrow comes in for 3 years. But I think one thing that we need to realize, and I don't think we need to pass the torch to the next generation. I think we have to have the backbone and the willingness to speak in unequivocal terms, right? So as a leader, there's great expectation. The great expectation is, first of all, self-awareness. You have to be in tune of the issues and challenges that you need to deal with. So, for example, when they came in, they handpicked some folks that they recruited. I would particularly point to Social Security, for example. There was an issue of Social Security. It was a Jammeh personal checking account. Mm-hmm. There was issue, but they got someone who has the technical know-how, who had the experience, came out there and turned things around from red to green. Mm-hmm. Now he changed the dynamics, the modus operandi of how that institution was built and its function. Mm-hmm. Being part of that government, meaning don't make it a personal checkbook. It's people's retirement are going in this. And the purpose of it is it's to serve people in terms of subsidized housing and all that stuff. So the man started changing. But the people that work under him don't like the change. They were resistant to it. And what did they do? They went out to the leadership, and the leadership finally kicked him out.
Kick him out, yeah.
So I think if we can talk about this is the but when Barrow was being elected, everyone, including the voters, knew the problems were there. We knew the problems firsthand, whether the challenges were there. The expectation was at least the goodwill, we will trend in a different direction, but that hasn't happened. So now I think we come to the servant leadership. The servant leadership is about selflessness. See yourself as service to the people that you lead. And this concept has even changed in IT, this in project management, even like this whole management style has shifted. You work, you collaborate with people, you take feedback and work your way up in order to get meaningful results. That's what's lacking. And the conversation needs to stem up. Now, how do we reset that trajectory moving forward? How do we make sure that the leaders align themselves with the issues that we have and be able to tackle them head on while we hold them accountable?
Yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. It comes down to vetting our leaders, because that's why we just go for the most popular or the Yamane leader, and then we put them out there, right? So unless we start vetting, we know our issues, right? But the problem with Gambia is because of the tone set by leadership, like you just mentioned, Social Security. Because when Jammeh was there, Jammeh being the leader he is, it was always about Jammeh. He said he had this vision 22, but he had a pocket vision, and that pocket was his, right? So because things were, he used it as a checking account, and everybody else was benefiting from that corruption. So if you bring somebody to try to clean it up, they will fight you and make sure that you're not there, because it was about them. You know, they were sending them to Mecca, they were giving them Tobaski money and buying them Rams and all this from people's retirement. Right, so we have this culture of right, and that is the mindset that is really crippling Gambia. Because so again, that's why I said the next generation. Because even if you change the leadership, right, sometimes you bring them in, people that are there will fight you tooth and nail. I mean, we've had stories of people coming into a new job to try to shake things around, and then before you know it, there's Nassau all over the place. You know, you come to your chair, they put some eggs over there, you know what I mean, and all this rubbish to try to intimidate you so that you leave, because they are used to just feasting, you know, the public feasting with the public funds. So the mindset has to change, not just about the leader, it's about us. That's why I said our people who are governing us don't know how to govern us, and we do not know how to be governed. So that's why, for me, my focus is the next generation, and we are the ones that are going to be the sacrificial lamb to do all the work and prepare the next generation, because that's what happens in every place else in the world, right? A generation will sacrifice for the next one. So we have to come out together as a people and stop all these different kabudus and groups and all these people trying to seek power to oppress others, and think about our collective dignity as a people, right? We've been colonized, right? So this divide and conquer worked, right? That's how they colonized us. So that divide and conquer mentality still lingers, and we are using it to divide and conquer ourselves, you know, whether it's political lines or tribal lines or regional lines, you know, whatever. So every Gambian identifies themselves, not just a Gambian, but, oh, I'm a Gambian, I'm NPP, or I'm PPP, or I'm UDP. So politics has become almost like an identity. Maybe we should start putting it on our ID cards, because politics is just a process to move a nation. It's not some type of identity, but we have made it an identity and made it and personalize it, and that's why we cannot even have a conversation, because every time I challenge your view, you think that I'm trying to basically stop you from being techie, right? If I challenge you, say, oh, you know, kid of my head, or they hate me, I'm just challenging your policy and your views as a political entity. It has nothing to do with you personally. Anything I say about any official in Gambia has nothing to do with their personal lives. I just talk about their capacity as an officer or as a CEO or whatever, serving the public. But people don't see it that way because we personalize everything instead of looking at things from the actual political lens. We look at a personal lens. So that's the issue we have. So that's why I keep focusing on the next generation, because that's where the real change is going to happen. And we need to prepare the ground now for them. Let's do all the heavy lifting to prepare the next generation, because if not, we would not stand a chance, because things are moving at a lightning speed right now in this world. We are all interconnected and information is right. Things are changing. Look at technology. Right now, we're just sitting here and talking to each other. The past 20, 30 years, this wouldn't happen, right? I could be in Gambia. People used to be in Gambia, Manmanyo, America. They're wondering, oh, how does America look like? I'm working on glass or whatever. Now I can just come and then call them Mangini, Exina, Philadeka, and show them my place. And I could be seeing them in Bundung or wherever they live. So life has changed, and we have to change, and it's so quick. And we're behind. So if we don't start preparing the next generation, we're really going to have some fundamental issues.
Thank you. Go ahead, Musa.
So Bokar, Sulayman, Dr. Ba, again, we are going to be talking about the $40 million question in a little bit, but we also believe that the leadership issue is vital. And you've heard all the conversation and the questions and the commentary. What's your take, Dr. Ba?
Well, I guess my take would be a repetition of what has already been said, but notwithstanding, let's look at the Gambia as a country or as a society. We have leadership by lineage. And what do I mean by that? Now, in my village, I have 2 more brothers, and I pray for them to live longer. But after them, I should be the village head, the alcalo. Right? So, but who am I to be the leader of a village? Do I have the qualities? Do I have the attributes? Can I really listen to the entire village? Would I be able to bring in innovative ideas in advancing the village forward? Now, these are fundamental questions. Many times, we don't tend to ask and provide answers for. So long you are the eldest, or by virtue of your lineage, you are next in line, you're okay to become the leader. But can you be a good leader or a better leader? Now, in a country as a whole, it cannot work like that. Leadership in this day and age, one must be prepared for it. And one must have clarity of why you want to lead and what you are going to lead. That is fundamental. But Coach will agree with me. At Ndow, you would always say, we don't put much emphasis on leadership, but a movement. In a movement, everybody is a leader, because everybody is expected to understand the overarching objectives and the vision of the organization. So in case Coach Pasamajau is no longer there, Sulayman would know where to take it from. Precisely the recent past Senegalese election was the case. So in this day and age, one must be prepared to understand that leading a country, you're not just leading a society in isolation, but a society that is part of a global community, and you must understand all the complexities that comes with modern day economics, modern day politics, to put your country at a strong foothold. So you can do that in many ways. Participating, reading, traveling, but you must not be a lazy mind in this day and age to lead a successful society or a country. That is where I'm going to stop.
Yeah, I've listened to everybody, and the more I listen, the more I get a little bit confused. And that is Business Management 101, they would say leadership is all about getting things done through other people. Sulayman said something about, in our situation, looking at 2026, we've been independent for the past 59 years, or is it 58? Gambia is still poor. Most Gambians would tell you we are in this situation because of a leadership crisis. In other words, people are thinking it's going to take a leader to take us out of this. So looking at 2026, Momodou Ndow and Dr. Ba, what are the attributes that we believe that this person must possess to be able to inspire and transform this country? In other words, are we as a country, culturally, is our culture even in tandem, like the way we choose our leaders? Is it this whole democratic process, like elections, go in and vote? Is that the best way to elect leaders? And also, what do we want? What attributes does this particular leader should possess in order to get us out of this guta gilegi neka? Most people would tell you, let's say, for instance, Pastef. People believe they came in a situation and they are able to somehow inspire a good chunk of Senegalese to convince them and say, this is the path that we want to take you. What is there that they have, attributes that they are able to do that? In our situation, Momodou Ndow, what do you think we should be looking for that person to have to be able to take us out of this guta and transform this country?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Musa. You know, like I said, the way we have viewed leadership in Gambia has made it very difficult for us to be able to like really identify, because everybody that's out there is out there because and your name has been thrown out there, and then your Tamganyo, you have whoever is following you and basically trying to champion for your leadership. But I think also honesty, it's what's lacking in how we choose leaders. So unless we really start as a people, you know, because 2026, I think, you know, it's just what, 2 years away. Is it enough for us to be able to vet people properly? Because people have already been put out there. You know, I don't know who is going to emerge from the nowhere and just show up, because sometimes that does happen. A good leader could just emerge from nowhere and then shows up, right? So I think as far as what I've seen, because leadership leader is one thing, but a good leader is a totally different thing. We are always going to have leaders, but we want more than leaders. We want good leaders that are going to have a vision, right? And I think for me, Gambia right now, because there's so much push and pull and there's so much toxicity in our this politics, the only thing I see is unity. Because if we unite, then that takes out the fear of whoever had this fear, and also over, they're gonna trample on me, or if this wins again, they're gonna trample on me. So unless we come together and then unite, and we have to start it early. We can't wait till the very last minute. And
let me just, because I want to come back to those attributes. those qualities that the person that we would want to see from that person that we believe could really transform our country, even looking at 2026. Now, the only template that we have Jawara. There are certain attributes that he had. We had Jammeh also. There are certain attributes that he had, and some can agree or disagree in terms of those attributes, whether make them good leaders. They also had attributes that made them bad leaders. And then we also have the current president as well. And we are also looking at a lot of leaders waiting in the, for instance, you have the United Democratic Party leader. You have Khalifa Saleh as a leader. So in other words, if we look at these individuals, and we've gotten to know them, what are some of those attributes that we can glean from them and say, because there are things that Jawara had, there were things that Jammeh had, there are things that the current president has. So if you could kind of zero into that, those attributes.
Like I said, the attributes are somebody that has a vision, somebody that's got vision. Empathy.
I mean, they all have visions, though. I mean, you can agree or disagree with the vision.
Yeah, when we talk about, like I said, vision is not just for next week or for the week after. Like I said, if Jawara had vision, Gambia should have been at another level, because 30 years, Kagame took over by 20, he had a vision. In 20 years, Rwanda was transformed. Right? Jawara had 30 because, and really nothing much happened because he didn't have a vision. He was just there as somebody new, Lamba Dajfile, and try to just evolve, right? And try to do his best. He was very democratic. I mean, the coup happened, but that's, and then things, but that's in every country, right? If something happens, something of violence, the government needs to come out and try to squash it. But vision is number one, right? Somebody that inspires others, right? It's a very critical component of leadership. So you make the leadership about the people, not about you, and watch the people now rise up to the occasion. Because people want ownership, right? Mandamade argue, it's not Gambia, so forget it on everybody. The have Senegal, right? You build the kapi and then get Delusi. Guess what? So in Delusi, then you are hard because there was no ownership. We were not part of the building process. We were not inspired to build the country. Then you could what? Because of the mindset. So unless there's that ownership, right? And you give people ownership by making them part of the process, making them feel important, making them feel valued, right? Get away. I don't want it, right? Because I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about them. That's what inspires people, right? So we need somebody that is going to inspire others by making this project about them. Right? You unify people, call them, we all know the different groups and the different factions. Call them, unite them, and say, hey, be a mediator, and say, hey, this is about us as a people. You can give examples of other people that have united and are achieving goals as an example, right? We are the same people. We are so interconnected, regardless of our ethnic group, right? Like, I am mixed with Fula, Sere, Balanta, I don't even know what else. Right? I'm gonna jokingly claim the say that because that's the thing, but I really don't care about. So that doesn't define me as an individual. My experiences in life is what defines me, because define. It's not about the Gambia La Juge or Sere Lafi or Smayali or Sma Papala. It's about me and how I evolve, because Purman Lolu, that identity, that self-awareness.
Right.
The person that I am today. So I'm not hung up on what ethnicity I belong or the Gurla and the Jigenla, right? So we need somebody that's going to inspire people by making it about them. Somebody that has a vision, right? And you share your vision with the people and say, hey, we are one people. This is the vision of the country. You have to have a plan, right? You can be there and even put a 50-year plan going out and do your 5 years or 10 years and get out.
Awesome,
right? Because people are inspired. They're going to come out, just like the example I gave in Norway. because of the mindset of the Norwegian people, regardless of what new government comes in, those projects are going to keep going for the next 50 years.
Correct.
Right? So we have to have somebody that has that, and you have empathy.
Empathy.
Right? You know the people and you feel their pain. Right? Like if Barrow had empathy, they've been delayed that don't them admit at victims. It didn't have to be like 8 years down the line. Understand? So that just right there shows you that the leadership quality is lacking.
It's lacking.
Yeah, because the empathy wasn't there. Right? So and then but everybody doing it on Balafa, Barrow, Balaba. So I'm on Balafa, you condemn them at Lifini Buyaga. So there's no Balafa there.
Correct.
Right? So we have to have people that are there for the country, not for themselves. Right? And you are not there just to win elections, but you are there to move the society. Because just building roads and stuff, those people, and right now we build Talibini, but do we even have a maintenance plan in place?
Correct.
Duma de dega ken diko wax ñepp nga ciow talibi bala OIC bu ngi ni di ñew di paré naka leen sa defaguñ ko ci talibi.
Yeah.
So what is the maintenance plan going out? Do we have any? That dañ ko build nonu rek su fi tojé ñu ñew paaj ko nonu, and that's it. So that's what I'm saying, the vision. When we put infrastructures, you put a plan to maintain it, because if it's going to be there, let's say for the next 25, 30 years, there has to be a maintenance plan for the next 25. That's what I call vision. Right? So we have to have somebody that's going to unify us, right? That is not there for their party, but there for Gambians. I mean, people win elections through party, or if you join or become an independent or whatever. But it is not about that party or about that group that help you. It's about the nation, right? Because you can be a leader, but do you just want to be a leader, or do you want to be a successful leader?
Effective leader.
Effective leader, right? Anybody can. Jammeh was a leader, you know what I mean? But poor man, tali yum defantuni, was it worth nit ñim rey, and was it worth unraveling the fabric of our society when you mel right now? Because this trauma is going to haunt us. That's why, man, I'm focusing on the next generation, because the trauma that Jammeh left is what's causing all this commotion, because that trauma has to flush itself out, right? Because ni judu time Jammeh yeb liñ xam moy we always denied that other people were killing Gambians because we were capable of doing it, but Jammeh made us, he brought out that in us, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's about people and what you bring out in them. It could be negative, it could be positive. So if he had chosen to bring out the best in us, Gambia would have been in another place, but he made it about him and then was using others to bring out the evil in Gambians, and you start deraying it. So you inspire one and bring the ingenuity in us, the innovativeness in us, and all these things, Gambia would happen on another level. So that's what I'm saying. We need a leader that's going to bring all the good attributes in us to make us move to the next generation and build the country and have this vision.
Yeah. Pop Samba. Cool.
I'm not civilized, so I sometimes will put my thing on mute.
Welcome, bro.
Hey, I'll take combo anytime. That's why everybody is running from Banjul to the combos. But there is something that Musa said, that, what did he say? Business administration 101 or whatever. Leadership, success through other people. That would at least require that you have some idea and some vision.
Like get things done through other people.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you do it through other people, but at least know exactly what you want to achieve. But if you lack the vision, it doesn't matter. You can hire everybody in the world; it will not amount to anything. But here is the thing about leadership. Let's look at the current issues that are affecting our country. Recently, the government of President Adama Barrow has decided that they were going to earmark 40 million Gambian dollars and to give it to 7 media houses that would promote the agenda of the government through infomercials or whatever that they call it. Now, there are two things to this. There is the ethical part of it, journalistic. I know, Sulayman, that's your field. You're the expert on that. But the other issue is the fairness of it. And even whether it is absolutely necessary to do that. Mr. Ndow, what is your opinion of this whole $40 million issue? Before I come to Sulayman, at least Sulayman can deal with the ethical part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody knows that it's unethical. That's just a given, right? And what is this agenda that the government wants them to push on their behalf, right? I mean, you have GRTS, you have all these other outlets that are there for the government. Why do you need to spend private money, given our situation and the struggles we face, right? So that's what it's all. Again, it comes back to the leadership being about them, right? Not about the people and the public. Because look at our hospitals, education, agriculture. None of this, that 40 million could have gone, could have done wonders for any of these sectors. But it is always about them and how they are going to win the election and stay for another 5 years and do the same thing. So there is, Pullman, again, it's about lack of vision. Because anybody that has a vision will not take $40 million. $40 million is to put it into that when you have all this other outlet. Just do your work on your projects. Gambians will see the good work that you're doing, right? You don't need to be paying media houses $40 million to. And what is this agenda, right? It's been 8 years. What has really changed? People are crying every day. Crime is up, drugs everywhere. We're not really doing anything to address those issues, right? But we are using money, but so that you want to stay, and then those issues are going to continue, right? So this $40 million could have been used to solve the drug problems that we have, to solve the education problems that we have. So it is just totally unethical and very unnecessary and total waste of taxpayers' money. And this is it has been the issue over and over again. And I don't know what the thinking was behind it, but now that it's out, I hope they will come and explain the and the explanations, Yumadega, really, they're not valid at all. So I don't know why the need. So Turman, it's just mind-boggling. I was just shocked like everybody else was. So sometimes some of these things happen and you cannot even process it, let alone explain the rationale of it. Right. So, and I think for me, I was just having a hard time processing it, given the situation that we're in. Like, why do you need to do this? Right. So that's, again, it's the lack of empathy and the lack of vision and all this all bundled into one. So, Putman, it was just ridiculous. So, and I don't think I can, because I'm still processing it to see, to understand why would anybody do this. So it's hard for me to even try to properly explain it because I'm still processing it. I know it's ridiculous, but just trying to break it down and because sometimes some of these things takes time to really process and really, because it's so mind-boggling that it catches you off guard. So I can say about that 40 million. Maybe Bokar can explore it more because he's in that line of work and can explore the unethicalness of it, which we already know anyways. But just the ramifications of such decisions.
Sulayman.
Dr. Sulayman, maybe what we need to, in the interest of time, we ask the question, both of you can just chime in.
Yeah.
Because,
I'm just going to quickly come in because I should also go and pick up my daughter somewhere. I disagree to say that it's unethical giving funds to the private media. I understand there is a concern that it may be unethical, but as it stands, there is no justification that it is unethical, particularly on the side of the media. Now, I don't want to say much on the side of the government as if I'll be defending the government. So my position on this issue has always been what we should do is to encourage the media, particularly the beneficiaries, to foster responsible journalism. Now, what we must bear in mind is the historical context of the Gambia's media landscape and the structure of journalism in that country. From the beginning, well, let's say from Jammeh to now, let's remind ourselves that Jammeh has always had 3 ways of censorship. You would have direct censorship through the application of laws, control of the state broadcaster in particular. Sorry, I'm hearing some kind of a noise. I don't know whether you're hearing it or is it a bit of a distraction? Huh?
Go ahead. I was hearing it. It looks like it has stopped.
All right. Okay. So these 3 ways are through the direct control of the media legally and also financially. Second way is through parastate actors, police assaulting journalists, particularly members of the private media. Thirdly was awarding of adverts to the media, almost maybe except for where, but it was quite often that when you have July 22nd celebrations coming up, the whole front page of Jammeh's picture would be there on the front page. That itself is a state capture of the media to legitimize the coup and everything he has done along the way. So interestingly, when Barrow came, they opened up the media landscape. Instead of the state having dominance, particularly with the broadcast media, competitors emerge, the QTVs, the Paradise TVs, the Star TVs, liberalizing, particularly the broadcast sector, because that was the sector that the state mainly controlled to monopolize information. The radio industry was never a problem to the Jammeh government, except when you had stations like Citizen FM and lately Teranga FM. But again, we know what happened to them. So the rest of the radio stations are mainly entertainment stations, commercials, sports, talking about community sensitizations, nothing like what is happening now. So what happened with this 40 million is a departure from what Gambia used to do, heavily invest on GRTS and the Daily Observer, to now, and this also coincides with times and circumstances. We're in the digital age. So the legacy media do no longer strongly control the narrative. So what Barrow or his government did right now to give 40 million to the private media that were strangulated and we're never having any sort of a financial assistance, particularly on the Jammeh's rule. And they are not to even run or be critical against the government. is to give them some money. Now, it is left to them, particularly beneficiaries. How are they going to utilize the funds? Whether those funds are tied to particular terms and conditions. And those terms and conditions must not be to undermine the cardinal principles of journalism. And the reason why I said at the moment it's unethical, I have no evidence of saying it's unethical on the side of the media to accept the funds, is because the argument that it undermines independent journalism, that concept itself is elusive. How do you ascertain that a particular media is independent? And that is because media houses always carry a particular ideological leaning by virtue of its ownership or its financiers. If I want to establish whether a particular media house is independent or biased right now, I would do a mapping. Now, what that mapping means is go on their website, for instance, have all the categories of their coverage. For instance, politics. Go on Terfatu as an example. Type UDP, Ndow. You would see the number of interviews he has granted to Kerfato in a year. Go to the standard, type UDP Ndow. You will see the number, do similar thing to Foroya. Then you will realize how much of coverage a particular media house is giving to a particular political party. Then you begin to draw the lines. So why not others? Are they not giving fair and balanced coverage to others? And that is where you now establish most likely the ideological leaning of a particular newspaper and determine whether they are truly independent to the values of journalism or not. Since these funds, when this news broke out, one of the beneficiaries, the Fatu Network, go on there now and type anything related to the government and the NPP. So you'll be able to determine whether, truly speaking, the publication has negated its watchdog role because they have received $5 million. And if you have that evidence and you argue that it's unethical, since you've received this amount of money, this is what has happened, I would accept that. But as it stands, yes, it is taxpayers' money. It should not be distributed willy-nilly, and I believe they did not do it so. They've probably done their own mapping, draw their communication strategy out of that, and decided that these are the media houses that are going to be the beneficiaries. We do not want to give the funds to other media houses that, in fact, is going to help them to undermine us. That's natural for every government to think and act in that way. But like I said, I'm not speaking for them. So there were a lot of reactions. And I will tell you why my position is the way it is now. I have a serious concern about mob censorship in the Gambia that is growing its ugly tail in the country. We have moved from state censorship There's still some elements of parastate censorship, the police assaulting journalists, but one of the worst forms of censorship happening right now is mob censorship, particularly online. Insulting journalists, attacking journalists, being misogynistic against them. If we are condemning them because they have received 40 million, we must be very careful in doing so. And that is where I also have a concern about the way the Gambia Press Union reacted on this whole issue. In my view, they should have first consulted their colleagues, remind them about the code they have in there. They call it the Jallo Charter. News has broke out that we have received this particular amount of money from the government, and we are concerned that by virtue of this financial aid, we think you are likely going to undermine the ethical principle of journalism. You may not be able to carry out your watchdog role. It is your right. We have no powers, and it is not illegal for you to advertise for the government. But there are ethical concerns. To understand the real issues. And if there is a situation of breach of that code, then the GPU, through, I think they now have a media council, can forward the matter there. But condemning it outright is an invitation, an open invitation of a mob against the journalist. The very issues that you are running away from, you would not be endangering the lives of journalists in that country. You can see it all over the media, particularly on Facebook, harassing them, insulting them, being misogynistic. These are my main concerns. It's not illegal to receive funding from the government to do advertorials. Is it unethical? The manner in which they have done, there are concerns. You can call it being selective, discriminatory. Yes, the Constitution said you cannot discriminate others and all that. But on the side of the media, you cannot condemn them for accepting a contract to provide a particular service. That's my position.
Yeah, so we just wanted to piggyback on what Sulayman just said about the unethicalness of it. I think when we're talking about ethics, we're talking about the government, because it is our money and they're spending it in ways that we don't think it should be spent, and it's unethical, and it's being spent on a select few medias, right? Instead of, if you want to promote, have $40 million, the government, you put it out there that the government is interested, and you do not take our taxpayers' money, right? They're just basically saying the government, but it's basically to promote NPP, a political party, right? The government should be for everybody, right? NPP is for NPP, and they have their political agenda or whatever. But as a government, right, it should be a government for the people, not for NPP or for any other party. And I think that's where, for me, it is unethical, because you take taxpayers' money. Everybody in Gambia is paying taxes. Even those of us who are not there are paying taxes, because if every chicken chain we send and is spent, taxes are being paid on that. So we are directly or indirectly paying taxes, whether we're there or not, based on the money that we're remitting back home. So it is our money that the government is using, right, to promote NPP and giving it to a selected few. For me, that's why it is unethical. And you just talk about it is discriminating. It is unethical to be discriminating, right? Because you're not treating everybody fairly. So that's unethical from the part of the government. For the media house, they can argue their case, but that's fine. But it is the government that's our concern, because they are the ones taking our money to dish it out to others. So for me, it is unethical on the side of the government. Yeah, we can argue about the media houses and how things work ethically. I'm not a journalist, so I'm not even going to try to speculate much on that. But as far as the government is concerned, this is taxpayers' money that you are using to promote the agenda of a political party. And I think that's wrong and it's unethical. And the fact that they're just using a few selected media houses to give it to them, even make it more so unethical than anything else.
Well, I think, Modu, listen, like for me, like you said, Sulayman, for us to know whether these media houses have changed their editorial policies would depend on what they bring out to the public, because we'll now be watching and all that stuff. But if you look at it, let's say, let me just, there are two things here. I was reading Foray's editorial because I wanted to know what Foray would have to say. And their first concern was whether this money, this 40 million, was approved by Congress, not Congress, by the National Assembly, so that the government will allocate it to media entities selected by the government. All right? They went on to remind the media houses of Section 207, subsection 3 of the Constitution, which states that the press and other information media shall at all times be free to uphold the principles, provisions, and objectives of this Constitution and the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people of the Gambia. But then it said something close the editorial. And this is where the issue is, where people's concerns are. Because for the most part, yes, there'll be some people that will attack media houses, but most people, their concern is, why are we spending 40 million on this when we have other more pressing issues? You go to GRTS, yes, state media, even makeup, the makeup that their people use is a problem. It's not in existence. But the issue that Foray closed the editorial with is, since media houses are paying taxes to the state is duty-bound to provide resources without any discrimination to media houses to enable them to disseminate information to the public. NPP going to a media house and buying ads, that's their right. They can do that because that's NPP's money. UDP doing it, that's their right. Ndow doing it, that's their right. But if it is state resources, a collective resource that comes from the taxpayers, I don't think there are any gray areas here. It is unethical, it is discriminatory, it is unconstitutional. And this is where the issue is. And to me, it's the biggest waste of resources, especially because everything that they say in that press release, when the permanent secretary was interviewed by Standard, all his arguments, if the government wanted to have information, they can just call people to a press conference. They go. Our journalists do not ask questions. They clap for you anyway, for the most part. So you have, and most of the time, if you look at even our media, the media has become a reproductor. I don't know whether that's a word. All they do is reproduce a story of press releases and press statements. Government sends them a press release. They're not even turning into a story. They would publish it verbatim. That's it. So you don't need to pay anybody 40 million to sell your agenda. All you need to do is send them a press release. They will read it. They will publish it. So it's all over the place. So to me, it's a waste of money. And there are no gray areas here. It's unethical in any way that you look at it. It's unconstitutional. It's discriminatory. And I don't think it helps in the furtherance of our journalistic standards, or even helping media houses. You cannot give 7 people that money. And the defense cannot also be, you know what, but they've done it for other people before. No, what is wrong is wrong. Whether people said it then or say it now are two different things. There were some of us who were called DSS in 2017 because we were saying things about Barrow. But today, those who are not saying anything are saying a lot more about Barrow today. At the end of the day, the issue is whether it is wrong is said. So that's my thing. I don't know what your take is on that.
Go ahead, Dr. Ba.
No,
I know Musa is itching to come here. I've seen him now fidgeting. Your time will come. Just take.
No, but all of us. I mean,
yeah, I think after Musa, I'll quickly have to leave. But quickly, Uncle Joe, you talked about the issue of press releases. And you see, not many journalists understand how to change a press release to an article, particularly if you're under-resourced. Everybody is talking about they are now undermining the public watchdog role of the media. An under-resourced media house cannot carry out its public watchdog role. And that is why they will just transmit press releases as they come. If you're under-resourced, you can't even carry out an investigative report. If you don't have insiders, at some point, the media must be an actor. For instance, if you want to unveil a story on corruption, a reporter has to go in there, participate in the act, whether it involves giving out money. And you tell me how many of these media houses in the Gambia can do that if you do not have an insider, particularly the private media. They cannot. So for me, my argument is that it is a good thing for the private media to be well resourced appropriately, not in discriminatory manners, to be able to carry out its professional role in holding a government to account. Now, the accountability principle in journalism is not just the government, and people always make emphasis on that. The private sector or the parties, political parties, it should be across the board, not just against the government or being critical to the government. Yeah, go ahead.
Coach, you will be surprised. You will be
Musa,
surprised
but
that
I thought it's my turn, Musa.
Okay.
No, you can go ahead. I'm just laying out. You asked the question, Coach asked, it's my turn. So I'm just want to lay that. I thought that's how it goes.
But go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
No, seriously, I will not.
I just for the purpose of having a good conversation, Professor Ba, I want you to kind of summarize your answer really quick. I think it's taking a little long time, and we have to wait. And Musa is kind of losing track of our rotation here. So, but Dr. Ba, I listen to you. I listen to you about leadership, and you talk about ethics. And now it seems like you're saying you're not speaking on behalf of the government, but it seems like you're taking a position that this whole issue is ethical. And I'm going to take an exception to that. Here's the thing. What do you think? Do you really think how the contract was awarded, it's in line? Because they're saying, even the medias are saying, they've been reached out to and they provide some type of response to government requirement to bid onto a restricted bid. Right? I'm not familiar with their research. In fact, for the purpose of transparency, I requested the GPPA Procurement Act. That way I can review it. Because there's two procurement stuff I'm familiar with. Sole source or open competition. So sole source, as long as the government can justify that these are the only particular entities that can provide such a service to government, which is unique. Open competition, they provide opportunity to all to bid. And there is selection criteria based on their requirements, and there is a scoring system. So now, in all that, how can you, and I don't want to tie this into other media houses and all that, but what do you think, especially knowing the country's challenges firsthand, priorities that are out there, do you really think it's ethical to spend 40 million to selected 7 media houses, private media houses?
Well, from the onset, what I did say was that I was speaking on the side of the media. Priority-wise, it is obvious that there are many sectors in the Gambia that are in dire need of resources. So as the private media as well. In the Gambia, almost every sector is a struggling sector. So if you want to work based on priority in the Gambia, it would be difficult to have a starting point. But I get you, the government ought to prioritize on how they spend public resources. Yeah.
Is that your answer? That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess my follow-up question is, you talk about a lot of, enterprises don't have enough resources, but is it government's business to provide resources to those entities? Because if you do, at least there's a bailout. I understand that if there is natural phenomenon or crisis, you do a handout. But what I'm trying to say is, what is justifiable? Talking about all that you need to bail out in an open, in a secret manner, that some media disclose it. What is the justification? There's a lot, but you selected few, 7, and you gave them 5 million, and you give the other media 10.2 million. And we stand here and we said it's justified because they lack resources. Is government in business to provide resources to those businesses?
And then Syria, these are private, right? This is not public. And for public, what about our public hospitals, right? That money, are we going to prioritize health over private media needing funds?
Well, these are all fundamental human rights. The right to information, the right to health care, the right to education. And the government must be at the center stage to ensure they fulfill their responsibilities for their citizenry to access these rights. Look, my political background is socialism, right? So I wouldn't advocate for the spending of public funds in the private sector. Instead, would be to build public institutions. But what has happened in the past? You have GRTS that enjoyed monopoly, resources at their disposal, but they were still unable to carry out that fundamental task of responsible journalism in the country. So that is our experience. Now, investing more on GRTS, to me, is still creating a monopoly of information.
So I think you can go ahead.
Okay. I don't have a question. I have a comment like everybody else. Sorry.
Right.
And my comment is this. I'm also, like everybody else, I've been looking at this issue, really. And there's the ethical part of it that Sulayman talked about. Ethical on the part of the government, and also ethical on the part of the people that actually receive these funds. Like everybody else, you see, it reminds me of one thing. In Gambia, there has always been this zero-sum game. That is why our politics can be very contentious. In other words, Susawai Falonga Falo. Going all the way back in the First Republic. If you are not an insider, if you do not, people talk about the Banjul cabal, they were the ones getting the deals. I mean, people like me that are old enough, we realize when Seusise get the cleansing service, and everybody was in uproar. Governments always do that. In a poor developing country, there is always a tendency. That is why even business people, they're always very quiet when it comes to being very critical to government. Because if you are not in bed with government, in other words, if you're not quiet, then most likely your business is not going to be viable. And the media is not an exception. Now, for me, what government did was unethical. Absolutely unethical. There is absolutely nobody who can defend that. It's the way they went about it. Pasamba said something. Should we spend $40 million, $600,000 on giving it to media houses? For me, that is a decision that a government is going to make. How important is it? How is it going to help our democracy? Are we better off investing it in that instead of investing it in ambulances? Anytime we look at the budget, we're always debating, saying, oh, no, how is the feeling corona spend? So for me, that is always going to be an issue, whether the government is spending our money the way it is supposed to be spent. The problem that I have is the process that they went about doing that. Should government be able to exploit the private sector to channel their information? If the public channel is not getting it done, they have decided that, you know what, maybe we need to rethink this. Maybe because government is always talking about we have a communication problem. There are things that we want to put out there, it's not getting to the people. And now, not only relying on public channel, let's go to the private channel to do that. But you see, the way they went about it, it created a trust problem. It creates an ethical problem. People seriously believe that, and we're not talking about, like Pasamba said, if NPP wants to run an ad, they can go anywhere and do it. I remember when we had Mort Sise, the chief of staff, and there was this issue with Fatou Touré having GIA, GRA, and they pulled those contracts that they had with Fatou Touré because they were not happy with the editorial policies that Fatou Touré had. And all of us were up in row saying, "Oh, that's not really fair. They shouldn't do that." So to tell you that government contracting independent media always been around, even the standard that ran it, they're carrying GRA's ads and information. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as I'm concerned, what government did wrong was when you take money from the consolidated fund, taxpayers, people are going to have a problem with that. People think it's very unethical. And let's call it for what it is. The only reason Fatou Touré was left out, the only reason Momodou Bojang was left out, and I'm going to naming names just to be very clear as hell, is because they think these people, they have opposition leanings and they are not going to channel those funds. But there is only one problem. They do pay taxes like Fatou Network. They do pay taxes like QTV. So if you're going to do these things, if you want, we were just talking about leadership, that you are empathize and you're fair and you want to take the country to the next level, instead of reaffirming what we've always been known for, I mean, then you're going to fail because people distrust that. What they did was wrong because these people are taxpayers' money. If you want to, Dr. Bass said something. I do believe government should spend money on independent media to help them. We have this media in Syria. Come here every Sunday. There are expectations. You know, I'm in Halisa. People that are watching this in the thousands, they do not give us a dime. So I can understand somebody running a media house in the Gambia. You have to meet payroll. You have to pay all your expenses. Nobody is giving it to you. There is nothing wrong with government, a serious government, to say, you know what, we are going to capacitize you guys. There are a lot of ways that they could do it. They could say, you know what, we're going to give you 5 years moratorium for not paying taxes. Use those funds to build up yourself. They could do it by saying, we are going to give money to each media house to help you do A, B, and C. A serious, fair-minded government that is ethical would do that.
Now, Musa, I fully concur with what you're saying. I mean, I have to go in a few minutes, but I just
very
want
quickly. Well, let's look at the ethical part of the people that receive it. I am one person that believes there's not a single media house that would turn down that money. Now, where I'm going to help them accountable, and where I think it should be fair, let's look at their editorial policies. if they receive this money and they turn out to be a mouthpiece of the government, that's when people should go up and say, this media house is interella. But just because they were given that money, so somehow you assume a media house is interella. I don't think that is fair. Some people do say, let's say for instance, this contract was signed all the way back in February. Fatu Kamara had an interview with Quran, and they exposed the biggest scandal. If that media house was to compromise its editorial policies because of that 5 million, I have a feeling that he wouldn't have run that and run away with it. I doubt it very much. So all I'm saying is, and this is where the government is wrong with a Momodou Bojang or even a Fatou Touré, that Fatou Touré has an opposition leading. Last week, I watched an interview Fatou Touré had with Alhaji Ousainou Darboe. Dr. Ba, you said that, yes, the United Democratic Party feel comfortable going to Fatou Touré. Fairly or unfairly, they have the perception that it's very friendly to the United Democratic Party. But when you listen to that interview, I can guarantee you that the question that she asked, if Alhaji Ousainou Darboe would have come to this program, I don't think we would ask harder questions than that. Every question that was asked, she asked it. She did. So in other words, for me, the ethical aspect has a lot more to do with the government. The way they when you are a government, you need to shy away from that. In as much as, even if you believe that these media houses, they are not fair to you or they're not friendly to you, Dr. Cisse is going to be on Fatou Touré on Thursday. He's going to go there and they're going to send their information. Dr. Touré was here Dr. Cisse was here last week.
Dr. Cisse.
Dr. Cisse, he was here last week. They didn't pay a dime. Just to pass on, reaffirm what you were saying. They could have taken all this information to these media houses, to be honest, and put it out there without spending one butut. You know what I mean? Now, if they're doing it to help the media houses, I think it's a good thing. But they have to be even-handed. That sense of fairness, I think it's important. I mean, and that's just the reality, the way they went about it. But also, people are going out there attacking some of the people that have gotten the money and questioning their journalistic integrity. Allow these people until they start basically putting out there and supporting this government with their agenda, then 5 million may have something to do with it. But until and unless that happens, I think that it is very unfair to question the integrity of those media houses that receive the 5 million. I seriously do have a problem. So if you're talking about the ethical aspect, is the government that one should question. And also, it's fair game to say that why are we spending $600,000 on these media houses? I mean, you can agree to disagree. We can have our disagreements, but I personally believe that whether it's QTV, whether it's Fatou Network, whether it's, and also Sarian, I believe that they were given 5 million each and not 10 million. The ones that I didn't know about was the content providers. Now, I've never heard of them.
You might just point of correction, Musa. But just point of correction. Just point of correction. Paradise was given 10.2. Just to let you know.
Okay. I thought that everybody was given. Maybe.
I'm just. It's out there. It's out there. You can go view it. Don't quote me.
It's possible. No, it's possible. No, I'm just saying.
No.
I'm just telling you because when I heard Dr. Cisse said
out there when you do the tabulation, it's actually 41 million plus
on QTV. On what they call it, Peter Gomez. I think Peter Gomez said that Dr. Cisse on that interview, he said all of them were given 5 million. But anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Musa, I just wanted to say so. Bala Kidinho, Munda, because I think he wants to say so before he goes more.
Right.
Melvin, I know you wanted to come in. I've sent you the link. And Madi, I've also sent you the link if you want to join us, because I know both Ndow and Key would be leaving us soon. So Melvin Roberts and Naka and Key, Madi Jobate, I'll send you both the links. Check your Facebook inbox and you can join us.
So, man, I have to check out now.
I also have to leave now.
Yeah, but, thank you very much.
we have the Serial and the Fuller, and they're all living at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. It was
okay.
Really, I think we need to keep the conversation going. But why but Sunday they play soccer? They do manangu kuma ko you know. Why them late anyway? So I can always jump on when I come back.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not you know.
Yeah.
So
okay, thank you guys.
Thank you for your insights. You know, at the end of the day, this is the beauty of democracy, and this is what we're trying to nurture. We cannot all agree, but at least let's have the conversation.
Yeah,
and that is why we have For the People by the People show.
That's it.
The old, the very young, and the young.
Thank you, man.
You know, the media should be as more representative as for the people by the people. Because you got Sarian there and you got Jow there with the Doyle leaning and with the UDP leaning. It's a great sandwich.
And Musa Jeng is PPP or NPP. So just, you know.
Thank you.
Independent.
Thank you, Dr. Ba. Thank you, Momodou.
Yeah. But most bile health still in me because I've sent those people the links. Chances are
Yes,
Coach,
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Coach and Musa, I wanna make sure that I take you on this one though, because you said Sariang, the media, the government should help. I'm not saying the government should not help the private medias, right? What I'm trying to say is I think there is ways to substitute, like by maybe giving them a moratorium on taxes. No,
yeah. We agree on that.
No, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish this. So I think I want to make sure I provide that clarity. I'm not against any media house, but I think if we are going to talk about leadership, and you said something about business 101, leadership is getting things done through orders. But also, it takes integrity, unwavering character.
Correct.
And not to accept failure. That is all part of leadership. You have to be an upright person. Be self-awareness. I think it's a big part of it. If you know who you are and what your purpose is to serve others, I think it's very, very key to leadership. So I just want to kind of lay that as clarity. Hamga Musa, sometimes, you get these MPP.
No.
You get these MPP talking points. No. Yeah. Sometimes you're trying to juxtapose and all that stuff. So
No, Sarian, Bilai.
I just want to provide that. No. I know you got some MPP talking points. So I just want to make sure.
No. But this is not NPP. We are all on the same boat. I like to hold the government responsible. I said they're unethical. Where I have a problem with Moine, where government should spend this money. I know that for me, I wouldn't spend that kind of money on private media. I think we have better priorities. But all I'm saying is,
this reminds me of most when the Meet the People store happened.
Yeah.
And they were in Basse.
Oh, there's a lot to reference.
And there was the minister of, I can never name his ministry, Boy, his minister. Administrative district reform is too long. I saw him the other day here in DC. I was telling him I can never remember the name of your ministry because it's too long for me. There was something that he said that if you're working for the people, if you're doing the right thing, you don't need a messenger to the president to tell him that you're doing the job. You don't need Geweli you're doing a good job. The people must feel the work that you're doing. So if you're a government and you are addressing the needs and aspirations of the people, of course you can go and do your propaganda. But you don't need to spend that much money for the people to know that you're doing their work, because they should feel that work. And there is something that Bas said, which is very important. And it comes back to the priorities. And what he's saying, Moine, you have a country where the majority are either pre-diabetic or are diabetic. And you cannot even have a dialysis machine in that country. Those are the bread and butter issues of the Gambian people, the concerns of the Gambian people. So what we have here, I think, is misguided priorities, where you are so eager for acceptance from the people, that you are forgetting to do what would gain your acceptance from them. Because it's not a matter of what are they going to do? Content? Because there is Faduma or these names that they talk about, and one of them is linked to the permanent secretary or whatever, I don't know. So they would make these things, show us the roads, you guys lay them. And in fact, they didn't even need to pay them, Musa. If you go to YouTube, there is this guy that I watch on YouTube. I go there every time. And all he does is showing the work that is being done on the OIC roads. That's what they're doing. So you go there, you can just type Gambia and that would come up. You don't need to pay that guy 5.2 million. And guess what that guy is going to do? Because the more people that watch his program on YouTube, he will get money from it. But what I'm saying here is you have all these things misplaced. There are more pressing issues. You see, I think sometimes yala daf ko wear. I think what happens to this government. Because no, Melvin, check your inbox. Because it is this account. I check your, what do they call that inbox? The Facebook one. Messenger. Check your messenger. I sent it. What was I saying? Because for the most part, they may have even signed something 5 years ago. But they would always announce it at a time when Gambians are in dire needs. And then it becomes like, why are we spending our money here? And of course, every expenditure will be defended. Just like when they came and defended those cars that they bought for the National Assembly members.
But that's what I'm saying there. Obviously, we've always going to be having these agreements and disagreements where government is spending funds. When you're a poor country, clearly, most reasonable Gambians wouldn't think that spending $600,000 on helping the media is the way to go. I think they could have utilized it in a different manner. I mean, the issue of fairness. So, Manserian, I don't really see a difference between your position and my position. I mean, the unfairness part of it, no reasonable person can defend it. But I also like to remind people that our politics of zero-sum game, there's a reason why businessmen, they tend to be aligned with the government. Because they're thinking, you running a business, the Gambia government is what I would say, the biggest customer. Any business who doesn't rely on them, you will be out of business. And the media house is no exception. I can guarantee you that. Most of these media houses, they will all be able to pay their payroll because of ads that they were getting from the GRA. Go to Coffee Time, and you see it was either ads from the OIC. Now, Pasamba said something. But I do believe, though, Pasamba, that government can decide, okay, I want this information to be out there, and I want to exploit certain channels to put it out there. Now, what they have just done, I think, may undermine that. So taking a low and motivation, because I'm still questioning why. Okay, what is the obsession for them to do this? Are they doing it to help these private media houses? Are they seriously doing this because of this communication problem that they've always been complaining, and that's what they want to fix? You know what I mean? I mean, what is the rationale? What is the thinking? These people that were behind it. Why did they decide, you know what, we need to put this money here and it's going to help us out?
Okay.
So, Saria, what do you think is really their motivation? Or is it just lack of leadership or incompetence, or there is a lot more to it?
Okay. All right. So one thing, someone texted me, Musa, you mentioned something about For the People, by the People show. And he was asking, you mentioned something if For the People, by the People show something. I don't get the whole gist, but he says, is Musa saying For the People, by the People is sponsored? I said, no, it's not. For the people, I'm not aware. The ads that are running on For the People, by the People are paid by private business folks, non-profits and stuff. There is no government whatsoever.
So what is he asking?
I think they're kind of confused with that segue, what you said. I don't know what can you clarify
what I'm
that?
saying is Dr. Cisse was here. He didn't have to pay us a dime.
Okay.
And was able to get his message across. Basically, the argument that I'm trying to make is government could still be able to go to Fatu Network, go to QTV, go to Kirfatu, and still get their information out. Okay. So Fekene, their motivation is to channel government I mean, there was somebody told me something. You know, whether it's a bank or an entity or even government enterprises, if you want coverage from these media houses, you know what you do? You pay them. You seriously do. For them to take care. So for anybody to think that this is something new, you're mistaken. Because most of these media houses, when you're facing motor elect, dollars and essence, and do all that and pay their payroll and then cover your government policies and programs, it's not, I mean, it's not going to work. Especially a country where the private sector is not really there. In a country like the United States or in a country like even Senegal, when you watch their programs, I mean, Theaterini, you would know that the private industry is behind it. And again, that's just what it is, you know.
All right. Let me answer your question. so Musa, I think the honest truth is this advertisement. I think we have to kind of communicate in clear paths here. And I've seen a lot of misconception, and even Dr. wrote something on his page saying that in Malawi the vice president has something. And I saw other folks saying, oh, you know, it happens in the United States, it happens in other places, and I think it's a wrong comparison. Here is the thing why I'm saying, basically, this is the Barrow re-election campaign strategy to get his message out there, what he's doing. And as you both said, you and Coach, there's absolutely nothing wrong for MPP to run an ad to any of these private medias. Absolutely not. Even if they handpick one and said, it's absolutely okay. But a government, and I reached to someone and I asked someone, I said, is this funds? And someone actually, I think Coach also asked this question that Fourier raised. Was this amount appropriated, meaning approved by the government, by the National Assembly? I was told that, you know, and I don't have any facts to that. I'm just speculating. But he said, as usual, they're gonna roll this 40 million into the supplemental appropriation bill. That's what they're gonna basically do. It's gonna go back to the bill for taxpayers. They're gonna foot this bill. If MPP wants to promote their agenda, I don't think it's right. And everybody is saying, oh, government is expensive. Government, no, it's not. They need to go in there and raise their funds, and they can use that to promote Barrow's re-election agenda.
But I have to interject here, and I don't want you to accuse me of holding briefs for the NPP. There is nothing that says that these messages are put out there to you just believe that. You're just making
here's the pushback.
No, I'm just saying there was nothing that was said that this was to promote the NPP agenda.
It's not. It's not.
As we see them. What they're saying is this is to promote the government's agenda.
What is the government agenda?
Let's be fair.
No, what is the government's agenda, Musa?
But that has, I'm just saying.
I am asking you a question. What is the government's agenda?
The government agenda is the government agenda. Understand me? The government agenda is the government agenda. It's the people's agenda.
No. All I'm just saying is
no, but you're basing this on your opinion, right?
Yes.
That's your opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
And the only reason why they're doing it is to promote the NPP as a party.
The re-election strategy has been rolled out. Right? So that's what I'm saying. And you know what? We have so much priorities and challenges that this 40 million can be allocated to.
I agree totally.
Okay.
Totally.
And that's my argument.
I agree totally. There are better priorities that we could spend this money. The only disagreement that we have is also, I mean, should government be out there advertising on private media? You said you don't think they need to do that?
The what?
That government should not be advertising.
Government should, but in a most. Here's the thing. Again, I'm going to push back on this notion.
I'm just asking a question.
Hold on. You asked me a question. It's my right to provide clarity, right? So here is the first thing. When they said it, they said this was a restricted tender. So meaning this was done in line of GPPA Procurement Act. So I am saying if that's true, That is true.
That's not
and
true.
It's only in Gambia that I hear restricted tender.
No,
give me
a second, Musa. No, I'm reinforcing what you said.
But give me a chance now. No, before you reinforce what I said, I am here on the platform to speak my mind. So you don't have to reinforce anything. You are asking me to provide clarity, and I'm providing clarity. So you are asking me if that's my position, because this is not the first time. You are preempting. So I'm just going to provide clarity that there is 2 procurement sources, sole source and open competition. So they said they did restricted tender, meaning they reach out to few and say provide. And I think iAfrica TV put it on their website saying that they respond to solicitation. So if it's gonna be an open bid, how come others did not participate? If it's gonna be on behalf of the government doesn't own by Adama Barrow and few selected folks. It's open by everyone. As you rightfully said, I will take you back to your position again. You said Kerfatu paid taxes, Member Kerim paid taxes, all other media, Al-Kama and all these people, and Gambia Talent Promotions. Why didn't they were provided to provide bids? And in an open and transparent manner, they reviewed their bids and they felt that they met the criteria and they can fulfill their requirements, select them. I guess that's what my question, that's where I think that is wrong, Musa. That's why I'm saying. I'm not saying the government does it. I am not saying the government shouldn't. But the way and the manner it was executed, that's what's wrong.
I'm with you on that. We don't have any difference when it comes to that. And the other thing that I wanted to align myself with your statement, Moine, you cannot have an open tender and still have a restricted tender. That to me is even oxymoron. That's not even possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
So I was reaffirming what you are saying. As far as I'm concerned, I have a serious problem with the government and the way they handled it. Bobu Mom, I'm with you difference. Where I thought that this is what you were saying, Moine, government should not basically use private media to
government does that all the time, man. The government does that all the time.
There's somebody in the vehicle. Who's this? Is Melvin?
Yeah.
Melvin.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Melvin. How you doing? It's good to have you on. I'm trying to bring Demba Balde as well. Go ahead, Melvin.
Okay, good evening, Coach. Good evening, Serang.
Good evening, sir. Melvin. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Interesting program as always. Very engaging, and it's always a moment. It's always a moment to learn. So I know the reason why I was tagged on the program because I was driving was because I did a post where I had a different position on everything that was going on.
No, it's okay.
But what I tried to explain is, and I've listened to you guys when you talking, and I could reduce it to you guys having an issue with the process.
Yes.
And I absolutely agree that the process that was employed by government seem on the face of it not to be very equitable, as in it is not fair. Now, my argument was the segment of society that feels that government should not advertise and government should not sell its agenda. I think that is a very redundant statement because government has a responsibility to showcase whatever it is that it's doing. But because it is very prevalent in our society and in the Gambia, most especially, that everything about government is seen to be an abstract. So I absolutely disagree when Syrian tried to divorce the projects of government with that of the NPP. Because the NPP is a political entity, it's a political party. But the government has a responsibility to sell and showcase its agenda. And you do not expect NPP as a political party to fund the branding of government. Exactly. When NPP took over as the ruling party, it metamorphosed from a political party to a government entity, where you and I regardless, irrespective of political affiliation, if irrespective of what we feel of the government, are part and parcel of that government. Where you and I, irrespective of whatever the government is doing, our foremost agenda is to ensure that government is workable, that government is progressive for each and every one of us, regardless of our political party affiliation. When it comes to election, when it comes to party politics, we can sell the party's agenda. We can sell the party's manifesto. We can sell the objectives of the party, what the party wants to do once they assume office. That is the responsibility of the party. But when it comes to government, a sitting government, it is the responsibility of the government to brand itself. And I gave an example where the American government sets aside a budget of $1 billion for adverts and PR. Now you can make the argument, and like I said, I did not try to compare Gambia and America. It would be foolhardy to do so. But what I tried to do was to build a premise around the fact that most times in the Gambia, when we talk about issues or anything Gambia, we draw inspiration from the US. And what I was trying to say is, even though it's a bigger economy, even though you can say the US is not a struggling economy as Gambia, you can say that the US is not suffering or having issues of electricity, clean water, access to healthcare facilities, and all that kind of thing. But the point I was trying to make is a government such as the US that has got a brand worldwide sees and understands the reason why you have to showcase the good side of government. And that was my point. So I was not trying to compare or draw a comparison, but to show that it is absolutely important. It is very crucial for government to showcase its work and what it's doing. Now, Serian made a very, very important point. But again, before making that, before solidly supporting that line of argument, we need to see the contract. What is the contract document between the government and the media houses? Now, see that based on the contract. I'm not sure you can hear me anymore. I'm hearing like a really loud noise. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're coming in and out, but we can hear you generally.
Okay.
Demba, maybe you need to mute. Demba coming in right now. Demba, can you mute? Demba?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if we were to see the contract and know exactly what are the contractual terms between the media houses and the government, then we can begin to make the argument that this is a political campaign strategy. Oh shit! This is a I have to hold my phone now. It just dropped. So this is a political campaign strategy that the NPP is using, but we won't be able to determine that until we know what exactly is the contract. And now, when it comes to the argument about using the national broadcaster, we all know what we said individually and collectively when Jammeh was using the GRTS as a propaganda tool. Mm-hmm. But it seems to my mind, I may be wrong, I may be totally wrong, that the same individuals that argued against what Jammeh was doing are now in support of the Barrow government doing just that, utilizing the GRTS as a propaganda tool. I see it differently. Yes, it is the state broadcaster. It is owned by the government, but every single Gambian, irrespective of political affiliation, has a right to showcase whatever it is on GRTS. Now, this is radically different from government wanting to rebrand, government wanting to show the positive sides. Now, the argument can be made, government is not doing nothing. They're not doing anything. What can government show? But that is a subjective discussion. That is a discussion where one quarter can say, yes, government has not done anything. Another quarter can say that, yes, we're seeing what the government is doing. At the end of the day, it is that quarter, that segment that decided they were going to overwhelmingly vote for President Barrow. President Barrow did not get to the State House in oblivion. It was a sector of Gambians that believed that he was the best possible candidate to lead the Gambia at that time. So when the government decides to brand, it is subjective whether they have something to brand, they don't have anything, they have something to showcase. But you do not expect media houses to run adverts, to run advertisement, to brand the government for free. It is not possible. These are private media houses that have, you know, they have to pay their staff. They have to pay salaries. They have logistical needs. All of these have financial implications. You do not expect them to run the brand, to run an advert for government, to showcase what government is doing. So I think it is right for government to do this. However, what I have a problem is the timing, one, and the process. But again, when we look at the process, we have to be honest with ourselves as Gambians. What happened to the COVID funds that was given to media houses? Was it given to every media house? No, it was not. It was given to selected media houses. But the loudest of voices now that are criticizing the government method were silent at the time because they were benefactors to that COVID funds. So when we speak as Gambians, we need to be honest to ourselves first. We cannot criticize selectively. We cannot criticize when it goes against us. And that is why we should engage and we should advocate for a fair, equitable process at all sector and segment of society. So for me, this is what I see, and this is what I don't agree with. Because let us ask ourselves the question, if every media house benefited from this 5 million, would the noise be this loud? Would people still advocate and say that 50 million could be better utilized for something else?
I think that, Melvin, just to two things that you said. First, the issue that most people have with this is the process. And I think if the process is wrong, then you have a bigger problem, because government is supposed to adhere to the laws that are set forth. And secondly, the COVID money, from what I remember very well, is that it was done through the GPU. It was not government that was sitting there telling media houses, okay, you will get, you too will not get. There were some who turned it down. I know West Coast did not want any money from them, did not take it. Other media houses worked with the GPU to be able to get it. But even if that were to be the case, that it was wrong then, nobody said anything, it is wrong now, well, I must be say something. Then we live in a very serious society. Because I think at the end of the day, what is wrong is wrong. When we started talking about the wrong, maybe immaterial versus the wrongness that continues to happen. This is my argument, and I'm not the lawyer here. You are the one. Yeah. But I agree. The process is wrong. It is wrong. That's the starting point.
But the thing is, though, we are assuming thus far, until we can see the contract document, until we can understand the GPPA process, that the process is wrong. For example, it's just now that I am learning, because Syrian mentioned that it was a restricted tender. Now, if it's a restricted tender, Syrian, I know somebody made a comment that you cannot use both open tender and restricted tender. So yeah, so that is definitely an oxymoron, and that is confusing, because I don't think that was what was employed, because it would be devoid of logic. Because if it was an open tender, then every single media house would be aware. If it's a restricted tender, then yes, selected media houses would be contacted, just as is provided for under the Act, under what is known as a restricted tender. Now, you can make the argument again, what was the need for it to be a restricted tender and not an open tender? But is it provided for by the law? Yes, it is. Is it provided for by the Act? Yes, it is. So again, unless we understand from the side of government why the method and that sort of process was taken, we cannot just sit and say that it was wrong.
Can we bring Gamba? He just wants to come in for a...
Don't you think
Musa,
that the
I just
onus
want
is
to
on the
respond to
government
Melvin real quick to share
to
that.
tell the Gambian people how their money is being spent. The bigger problem here is we cannot sit and say, you know, unless we hear from the government, we cannot say anything. It is the government's responsibility to tell the Gambian people how our monies had been spent. And this is why the argument whether did they go to the National Assembly, was it allocated for? Come and tell us. If you have told us from the very beginning, if this was not leaked, chances are we would not have known about it. It
yes,
was
Coach.
we are just hearing about it now. It is our money, taxpayers' money.
Yes.
So we cannot restrict the citizens from asking questions, asking them to be patient until we get the information. While the people that we employ, the people that we give our money to, who spend our money, have not told us how that money is spent. And that is where the starting point is. The government must be transparent to the people that they govern.
No, Coach, I agree. I agree. If you realize most of our conversations that we had prior, I would always say this, that our government is a reactionary government.
It is.
So the government would now, because of what is going on social media, because of the questions being asked, they would then react to that and give us information. And it should be the other way around. Government should give information and citizens can make decision on that information and decide whether whatever government does is good or bad. But unfortunately in the Gambia, it's the other way around. Citizens find out things. Like you said, if this did not appear in the standard publication, probably we wouldn't know that it's even ongoing.
Sir Melvin, thank you for the rejoinder. I just want to make few clarities here. and in terms of procurement, the procurement restricted, open tender, I think the baseline, at least based on this is my domain. At least I did this for almost 20 years in the United States, both in the military side and Department of Energy, just to let you know. The fact that if it's restricted, you have to provide justification. And the key point of that justification is, why do you select that particular media that they can and which others cannot provide? And I sat on procurement meetings whereby we debate, we score, we look at their past performance, we look at the criteria to is the liquidity. How about if the contract, if they cannot deliver what the government put forth, what is the next step as we get into the legal realms of things? But what I'm trying to say here is the restrict, yes, government might have, but what is the baseline? What is the tiebreaker that these select fews cannot provide? And yes, the documentation will see. And also, I think the most people, the entity that owes Gambians to scrutinize this is the National Assembly. I think they can unravel this very easily. All they need to do is a key play. Was GIPA involved? Because you know, GIPA is the procurement authority whereby they can provide guidance and oversee these issues. So were they involved? What were their level of involvement to seek oversight and ensure that there was impartiality in the execution of these contracts? I think that is what my breakaway point is. And these are key ingredients, whether it's an open or restricted tender. But the most I can come in and say restricted, but I have to jump hoops. It takes a minimum to 3 to 6 months, even before that contracts get bottom line, because it needs to go up for the CEO to get it signed off and everything. So that's how tricky and delicate that is. So that's what we're saying. The process and how it was executed, irrespective of whether the contract documents comes out or what. But I think based on what we knew for now, it was not open. And what is the breakaway that, say, Paradise TV or Star TV cannot do that, Kerfatu cannot do, or Member Caring or somebody else? Those are things that you look at in terms of selecting this. What can they provide that others cannot provide? And they think that is the key breakaway there.
Let's bring our good guys. Demba Bandit, Gainako guy. What's up, Demba? Demba.
Yes, Musa. How are you?
Are you on mute?
Guys, sorry about that. I'm at an open house. Somebody just walked in.
We gotta set things right, brother.
I'm at an open house and somebody just walked in.
Oh.
So, but anyway, just very, very briefly, I've been listening to you guys, listening to Sulayman Ba, listening to Momodou Ndow. I'm a big proponent of, the media houses, private media houses being funded. Okay. In addition to that, the questions that the Gambians must ask themselves is, are you concerned about the source of this funding? What is the source of this funding? And should the National Assembly have a say in the source of this funding? Okay. And are you concerned about the process? Obviously, a lot of us are concerned about the process, whether it was an open process or a closed process. Okay. The question, Musa, is the timing, and not only the timing, but also the government. It is time for census in the Gambia. Go to the Central Statistics website and go look at that website. Zero information. How many websites can $40 million is built? How many websites can $40 million is built?
A whole lot of websites.
A whole lot of websites. And so if you're really concerned about the citizens' access to information, why not build those websites and allow people to access information by themselves? Why not? And here is why we think the media is compromised by accepting these funds. The Fatu Network, for example, just an example, or any other beneficiary, they knew about this way back when they signed this. If they're interested in the public interest, why couldn't they disclose it? Why didn't somebody report about it? This is why we think the media is compromised by accepting something like this. Because if you're protecting, if you're a watchdog, then you must disclose or you must report on something like this. But they sat on it. Every media house sat on it. Until now, it was linked by the Standard. So the Gambia, the priority is, what is our priority really? Where should we spend $40 million? Awarding private media houses? Absolutely not. Go build some websites. This is the question that we have. And Coach, you remember I brought this up when the government was exclusively sponsoring or patronizing West Coast Radio. I mean, I have nothing against West Coast Radio or Peter Gomez, Uncle Peter. But when government was exclusively going to that for all their advertisement, all their programs in the morning, I brought this up privately. I brought it up. Guess what? Why the West Coast is not included now? Because they feel that West Coast has benefited before. So they decided not to include them. This is the danger of setting a precedent of awarding private media houses private.
I don't think that's why West Coast was
excluded. I don't also think that's why West Coast was excluded. No, I don't think that's the reason why.
That's not the reason. The reason is you have to have audio visual. What I'm telling that people can see. West Coast is radio. I just
but then Musa, that would be very problematic because the reason why Paradise Radio had 10 million, twice the amount, was because they paid for radio and television.
Yes, okay, I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yes.
Even Sariya mentioned that. I thought Paradise had the same amount with the other.
So if Paradise got 10 million, then definitely Star TV would also get that much because they also have
a radio and a television. Yes.
And
that is why
by the time we are done, this would have exceeded the 40 million that they are banding around. It does not add up.
It doesn't.
Even Dr. Cisse answered it. Ben Peter was saying that we had is 46 million. It's like, no, it is not 46 million. And he went and said, take 5 million times the total number of entities that are getting it. Exactly. And that's what Dr. Cisse said, unless the amount is different.
That's what I'm telling you, Musa. By the time we are done, this would have exceeded at least 60 million. The whole thing is, but again, like I said to the Gambian people, we have responsibility. There was something that Halifa Sallah said. Sani karta matay, nguri matay regla la jural. So we can sit here and cry over spilled milk. Of course, we have to speak out. But again, elections do have consequences because it doesn't matter with everything that we are facing, Musa, in that context. Everything that our people are facing. I just saw a video the other day of this paternity ward in Chairman. Musa, I could not even finish watching it.
Yeah.
So you have all these problems, but our government believes that the only thing you know how we live. You see how our people live. So how I mean, even message bu nice nak solko. Everybody saying guy and you don't even have the money to buy breakfast in the morning. That's how we live. We have to really become a more serious people than the way that we live. And our government lives the same way. Our government is like somebody who is on welfare and driving a Lexus, living large. It doesn't make sense. This money that we are spending does not even make sense. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And they are lying to the people. It's much more than 40 million. Because if some are getting 10 million, then it's more than 40 million.
And maybe there needs to be a clarification from the information minister. I mean, he's going to be on Kerfatu on Thursday.
Hopefully he will get all the facts, because it looks like, based on it, it looks like he may not know much about this whole thing. Yeah, because the time that they said they signed it, he was not even minister.
He said very clearly, "Mom hamne pass of 40 million." You know, that's what he said.
Yeah, okay. So let's wait and see.
I don't know whether Gambia is still. So Melvin, so what's your final take?
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I don't really think I agree absolutely that what we should focus on is the process, how things were done, where this money is coming from, whether it had National Assembly approval, and to understand the bidding process that was employed by government. Who got what, whether this media house, that media house, I don't think that should be the argument, and that's what I was talking against.
Right.
I don't believe that should be the argument, because what it seems, if that is the argument, it seems it's because one person did not get and another person has. That's why we're talking like that. Right. The conversation, the conversation, has to be honest. And when it comes to this bit about buying media patronage or buying the media houses or using it as a propaganda tool, that goes back. The buck goes back to the media houses. Are we saying that? I mean, and a classic example would be West Coast Radio. Just because government was giving and directing all their adverts to West Coast Radio, it did not diminish Peter Gomez's, ethical standards to hold government accountable.
I agree totally.
It did not. So because government is using Fatu Kamara or using another Haruna Drame to advertise does not mean that they are not going to hold government accountable. And if we're assuming thus that is what is going to happen, what we are saying is we have media houses that lack credibility, lack integrity, and are of no substance. And the same argument could be used. The government is funding the judiciary. The president is appointing judges. The president constitutes Supreme Court. Are we saying to ourselves that because that is being done, because the judges of the Superior Court are appointed by the president, even though albeit recommendation by the General Legal Council, are we saying that every matter that these judges, that the Supreme Court adjudicates upon, that it would favor the government? It is a redundant idea. So if we do not think that way of our judges, we do not think that way of a judiciary, why is it that we are making the same argument that because government is using a particular media for sponsorship, then they are buying out that media? What we are basically saying is that we don't have trust in the media personnel that are running that show. What we are saying is that if the media is giving anything, they can be compromised. And I think that then goes way more on the media than on the government.
But Melvin, I heard what you're saying. I hear you loud and clear. But again, maybe that assumption, in as redundant as it may sound, may also help the media to remember, you know what, hey, we cannot, just like when iAfrica came out with a press release to explain that, you know what, in spite of this money, we are not going to compromise our
integrity
policies. So sometimes, let's say if you are a lawyer, like you are a soccer player or you are a coach, you hear them criticizing you. Maybe the criticism is really out of place. But at least a human being is a human being. It will remind you to say, you know what, I should not let my guard down. Because of this, a lot of eyes would be on me. I think talking about it, I'm not talking about attacking people, personal attack. I'm not talking about that. But at least talking about it will be forcing people to remember their responsibility to say that, you know what, we have to be a lot more guarded in our approaches. We have to be a lot more mindful, because very easily we can be seen to have undermined our policies based on the money that has come in. I've not seen anything wrong. But what I'm saying here is goes back to the government. The government should be honest with the Gambian people, should have come out from the very beginning. These are NPP money. These are Barrow's money. These are the minister's money. These are the people's money. And say, you know what? We have contracted these people to do A, B, C, and D. Here it is. But now it will have to take the National Assembly to summon them there, and they will go there and say, give me 1 week, because we are trying to search for the documents and all that. And by the time the National Assembly will be done with them, we would see that maybe it's at least 80 million. And then I hope they would ask them, because they are now, because as soon as they said that, the people that they named, they were two mediums. They say they are the content providers or whatever that people do not know about. One of them is now being
yes, but coach, I'm sorry to interrupt you, coach. I agree absolutely with what you're saying, and you're spot on. You're right, because the conversation would make these individuals, the people behind these media houses think twice, but also. Somebody like me coming with that perspective and giving a comparison with the judiciary would even give them a better understanding that, you know what, it's not just because the president has appointed you, it's not just because they're using your media house to advertise that you should now compromise your ethical standards and your integrity. But what you see on social media, coach, and this is what I don't like. And probably some people think like I'm just controversial. No, I'm not. I hate injustice of any form. I don't have an iota of relationship, whether personal or professional, with Fatou Camara. None, zero. In fact, I'm not one of the individuals. I don't comment on Fatou Camara's post. She does not comment on my post. I don't share what she writes. I don't do anything. I respect her as a human being, and that's where it stops. But there are media houses that we don't even know of. We've never heard of. The anger is not directed at this media house. It is directed at Fatou Camara and her radio. I don't understand that.
That's true.
I do not understand. Will never understand it, because it goes to show the dishonesty of Gambians. It is because people don't like her for whatever reason. And for me, that is what I cannot agree. That is what I cannot subscribe to. And that is why I keep saying, if the anger is about the process, stick to the anger that is directed at the process. Don't go and attack and disparage a single entity, a single individual. Why? She is Gambian as well. She is Gambian as well.
People blame me, I blame the government. That's it. And I think they're answerable to the people and must answer these questions.
Melvin, thank you, sir.
The obsession is more of finger pointing, personalities, accusatory, because somehow they have an issue with the individual. And
that is what it is.
You are blinded.
But you see, Musa, I understand that, and it's distasteful, but it's not to be avoided. Whatever it is, you're always going to get that.
But that doesn't make it right, though.
No, it does not. And I didn't say it's right or anything. But what I'm saying here is, at the end of the day, whatever position they put into there is put in by our government. They just had to play fair. They just had to be transparent, and maybe this conversation would not even have emerged. That's it. Gambians were blindsided by this. We just woke up one day and saw on the headlines that 40 million was spent, and everybody was, what the hell is going on?
No. Apparently,
this was going on since October. They said, or February. I don't even know when.
It was last year. It was in 2023. But apparently, the 40 million, from what I was told by somebody that is very close and has seen the contract documents and stuff, because I think the contract documents were done and prepared by the Ministry of Justice. I think that's where they went to sign it and things like that. But I was told that it's in phases. You have I think you have 3 phases, so they're not even paying the 5 million at one go. I think they're given a particular amount, and then after either 3 months or 6 months, there's a review and things like that. So it's not like, I don't think they've even paid the money yet. But again, like you said, like you rightly said, it is because we don't know. Nobody knows. Everything is shrouded in mystery. So we don't know what the reality is.
And you know what is easy about, and maybe this government, that's the biggest mistake that they make. You see, let's see Sidi Keita. You know, CD would be holding press conferences. You call him anywhere and he will go there to defend his budgetary policies or whatever. And guess what happens? You may have disagreements with him, but at least you know where he stands on the issues. He's not running away from he's not. I'm not saying this because of I just like the fact that he is always upfront about issues and would go there and doesn't mind to be challenged by anybody. But if you start nappaling this thing, that's where you give room to rumors and all these things, and that is what is happening. That's it. So the government.
Coach, just to add a few comments on what Melvin just said. I think when you say phases, that even makes me more unease, because phases supposed to be tied on performance, right? Based on the requirements from the government. So on these medias, again, the phases, what is the payout breaking down, the payment structure? What are they supposed to deliver? Who accepts those deliveries based on the criteria specifically delineated in the contract document or their requirement document? I think these are issues where there's a gray area and people call into questions, right? So there's corruption, there's everything. So what is the performance key? 1 year. But what are the phases? What are the delivery? What is expected of these media houses to deliver in order to get paid? Right? And also you mentioned, I think I'm always about transparency and getting problem resolved. How in the world, if hadn't been, this was an open tender, everyone who felt that they have time, they laid out timelines, and they say we need to get the solicitation by this timeline, we'll do the selection process. If there's any follow-up, we'll get this going. Whoever bid on the solicitation, and it was done in a transparent manner, open invitation, do you think we would have this conversation today? Absolutely, we will not have the conversation today. And I think that's where I hold the government accountable. You cannot keep getting things wrong over and over, and you get yourself into quarterbacking about making all excuses in the possible. It's very, very clear. Open tender, you invite all of them who don't meet the threshold. You can lay out your threshold. There's so many ways how you can get this going, and in the eyes of the public, it will be legit and it will show that you were impartial in awarding the contract. But that hasn't happened. There's more questions than answers, and every time the information is, and I didn't hear anything from in his website, but I saw on What's on Gambia when they contacted Dr. Ismail Assise. He says, "Oh, I'm just hearing about this. You know, I didn't get it from my handing over notes." So you see where this roller coaster is going on this thing. So we can massage it anyhow we want, but at the end of the day, questions remain, and it's the government's responsibility to ensure that they respond to folks' plight and address their concerns.
Yep. Brother Melvin, but again, thank you very much for your interjection. Helps the conversation. We definitely appreciate it. Like they always say, every now and then, please jump in.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So it looks like, Musa, there was another issue brewing in that country about the cement importers. And I think Gambia government, according to what I've been reading, they used to charge them about 30,000 per, I think, 1,000 bags or whatever, and wanted to increase it to 183,000. So there was a standoff. But the information that I got recently is that there's been a compromise. The government has decided to revert back to the 30,000. So cement now will be coming back in the country. But you see, and it shows. Huh?
Sorry, I got a call from my nephew, my uncle. Dañu wara jënd cement de go dégg naa ne gaay nga taxaw poste car ay xam nga $400 a bag la and by the time they are done it could even jump to 500, so they daw jënd affaire.
Yeah, I heard it is resolved, but you see, Musa, it comes back to, I remember there was a time when it was Amadou Samba and Haumalan when we used to produce cement in the Gambia.
No, well, we always back it from the Gambia. It was being bad.
Yeah, we always backed it. So to me, it's like, man, where did we go wrong? That every single thing in that country has to be imported. Every single thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we do not produce anything. We really need to.
That needs to be changed, Mom. I even hear Senegalese. When you watch Senegalese, professionals or even some political debates, it's the same argument. They're basically saying everything gets imported. And that's the problem. Unless and until we start producing certain things. Onions, for instance, it's very expensive. Same thing with rice. So when the focus should be the things that Gambians really need, rice, so they get cheap. Rice, oil, tomatoes, onions, and things like that. If we can locally produce that, I seriously think it will begin to help the private Joe. And not only that, the same thing, you focus on housing. When you take care of all these civil servants, the police, the nurses, the firemen, government goes in there with social security and build these houses. I'm telling you, that is going to make location will be much cheaper, because then you've taken care of the supply part of it, all right? And the people that are the passambers of this world, privately, they are renting their houses. The demand is not there. They will have to come down. So government.
I'm a socialist. I don't rent anything to anybody.
If you focus on the basic needs of the average Joe and try to see how it can be locally produced and help the Gambian people with housing, I think that will be the beginning of confronting this problem that you're talking about. All we do is import, and the value of the dollar against the euro and the dollars. Freddy Sariang Jumai was in the Gambia and yesterday.
No, he's my president. So don't just malage that. He's the point guy. He says what?
Jumai.
Huh?
Jubal Jubanti.
Jubal Jubanti.
Jubal Jubanti.
And you know when you said that, Sarian, when I saw APRC no alliance,
Lamin Tamba.
Yes, when I saw them with their poster with Jumai, Sonko, and the murderer, Yaya Jammeh, and I was looking at it, I'm like, this should be even an insult to Pastef, because su fekkee ne jubal ak jubanti, those things eluded Yaya Jammeh a long time. Ngir jubadi moo tax Yaya Jammeh luubal alali réew mi ger gi nga xam ne moo nekkoon si réewi Gambie mu nekk ci jël alali réew mi di ko digal fi nga xam ne du suqali koom-koomi réew mi moom koom-koomam lay suqali jël li nga xam ne mooy suñ xaalis ñoo jëndee fi kër fii Washington DC $3.5 million at the expense of the Gambian people. So Yaya Jammeh jubut bay jubale jubut bay jubanti ngir di only jubanti bi nga xam ne moom la Yaya Jammeh du loon def mooy ku sàcca alali réew mi te moom jotu si mbaa joxuloo xëj lu ko ci neex. That's it. Mais pare Pastef, they are calling about what? Pan-Africanism. They said they are Pan-Africanist. A Pan-Africanist du gis ay Africans ñu jàppaleen ñu ne leen rendi leen dama foog ne ay naka lañ tudd ay what did they call them naka la tudd mercenaries. Pan-Africanists would not kill their own citizens.
Ghana is known to be a Pan-Africanist now.
He was not a Pan-Africanist, Musa. It was nothing but a name. So to me,
that was one of his even negative feelings that when you run into African Americans, or they will tell you, oh no, yeah, Jammeh, he's a Pan-Africanist, he's a good leader.
Musa, gis nga mbiri loolu noonu dooloo tax in 1996 my first interview in the United States was with WBAI, Pacifica Radio. It's a black radio station. It's Pacifica, you know, and because of the way that they were talking about this guy, and that was when I responded to Farrakhan. Farrakhan had visited the Gambia.
Oh yes,
and said I went there. I met my brothers. There was a soccer game. They've decided to stop broadcasting the soccer game to allow me to address the country. That's like stopping the broadcast of the Super Bowl So he was talking about Jammeh as if they were talking about a demigod. This was the first time I had an interview at the radio station with Olomibra. And what I told them that the mistake that African Americans make is that in their desire to connect with the motherland, that they would just embrace anybody that claims to be anti-West or pan-Africanist. Mylan Yahya Jammeh is the worst thing to have ever come. This was 96, 2 years after he came to power. Yahya cannot be a pan-Africanist. Yahya was the wrong thing, the worst thing that has ever happened to Africa. He's one of those. Yahya is no different from Bokar and all these crazy people. The easiest thing, I think the most like a bastardized word and prostituted word is pan-Africanism. Everybody would claim it. Even the people. How can you be a pan-Africanist when you are killing your own citizens? Africans. So when I saw that, man, I look at these people, and of course, President Barrow, when these leaders come, when you speak, please keep it very professional. And sometimes there are all these things that are unnecessary. I small brother, I makala demak, I banjebe Senegalak, I buye divini Yahya Jammeh and all. These are unnecessary. You listen to Jumai, who's been president for a few weeks, and his comportment, his seriousness. And you listen to Barrow and his casualness. Yes, to me, Barrow is like, Barrow is very comfortable in an Atayevu conversation type stuff. Because he looks like Niti Watan Katla, Kumuna Watan, all this. But when you are representing a country, sometimes I think you have to be a lot more serious in it. And I think maybe his handlers too can help him by preparing him more. You cannot take these things for granted. We are related, we are all these things. But let it be so focused. It doesn't have to be overly serious. Why it cannot be also reduced to a clownish Nakalatura conversation. And come on. I don't know, man.
Well, Coach Karamba wrote something on his page about the president hiring a professional, sophisticated policy, professional. And I said, the fact is, as you hear, he says the level of preparedness. I mean, we do this all the time, right? If you're meeting, you said, this is an opportunity. He's coming to visit us. Especially his advice. He got a bunch of advisors. Well, what are they providing him, right? We have so many issues that this is his first state visit. Mr. President, what would you like to discuss with President Jammeh Faye? If he put his draft out there, or whatever he needs to, you guide him through. I mean, that's what you need to do. I mean, you can create talking points. That way he wouldn't wave off about taking someone to Mecca and all that, my family and all that. And when they were doing this, I thought they were accusing him, but I went back and I listened to it myself. And I started shaking my head. But it goes into the chief of protocols. What is Mr. Caesar's role? What is his role now?
He's the chief protocol.
Huh? Alaji is the chief protocol, but the guy who came on the show here, what is his name?
Chief of staff.
Oh, Dr. Caesar.
Chief of staff. The chief of staff.
Mo Caesar.
Yes, Mo Caesar should be the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper should be collaboration, the syndicators and all that. Hey, it's a good time because the man said they're going to renegotiate some of the things that Macky Sall did in the past. So that should be a forehead and kind of have hey, my brother, this is stuff. And you start engaging him on a bilateral and professional note. But when you wiggle, and I think I'm concerned about the way he's, every time he's put his hands like this. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, somebody got to tell. It's not hard. He's been in the presidency for 7 years. These are things that he can do. But I think the level of preparedness, though, and the people around him needs to help him out a little bit. I think some of these things are embarrassment. He doesn't know, but you have to guide him through to make sure that he has good representation, especially a young man who was visiting him and all that. But, the man was polished. His suit was on tight. Everything was good about Jammeh. Just to let you know, Musa, he was on point. His guard of honor too was great. From the airport to the State House, he was on. He's learning quickly, and referring to his guys behind talking to them, telling him what. That's the essential part of presidency, right? So you can't do it alone, but you gotta have guidance. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. That's what it is, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen the speech, but I'm not the least surprised that everything that you guys said. I mean, I think Barrow has some serious limitations, and that's just the reality. In a formal setting like that, again, like I said, definitely Deglu. Really, I haven't seen it. I was so busy yesterday, but it is what it is, you know.
Well, what else you got on the agenda today? Are we done?
Pretty much. We had we had this.
Did we cover all the bases that you got in mind?
No. I mean, you can come up with the issues. It's 4 o'clock.
I'm just getting information that some young people were arrested today. I'm trying to reach them, but I'm not able to get anybody because they were having a sit-down strike today.
Why are you laughing, Musa?
I just want to advise him to demonstrate due diligence. I forgot this issue. Maybe we can talk about it. But
so
what's up?
You remember I asked you about, did you watch, Mr. Dabo's interview?
Correct. I did.
So what's your take on it?
Can I just finish what I'm saying?
No, your exact due diligence.
Let Coach finish. Let Coach finish. We can talk about that.
Yeah, because these young Gambians, mostly the youth parliaments and some of these others, including the Marjangs and others, had applied for a permit to have a protest about the ferry services. Of course, they were denied for no reason, because that's what people do to try to curtail people's rights. So they decided, you know what, now they're just going to have a sit-down strike at the arch. What do they call it now? They call it the victim monument.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, so my understanding that they've been arrested by the state. I've tried to reach Mar and the speaker of the youth parliament, but cannot get them yet. And I hope that this government would understand that you cannot continue to do this nonsense of denying people permit. Responsible young people who were calling for a peaceful protest. Because what happened with the ferries, I think is absolutely serious. Thank you, Gaza. Gaza has just informed us that they've been released, but charges are still on. I don't know charges of what. You know, it's just utter nonsense. If people ask for a permit and say they're going to have a peaceful protest about what happened in the ferry, any other country with that, somebody would have been held responsible. It would not only stop at the president going to where they fix the ferries and leave it at that. This was a dangerous situation that continues to happen to that country. But you say you're going to deny them a permit, and they say, okay, now we're just going to have a sit-down strike. You go and arrest them. For what? What are they afraid of? Why do they have to fear people so much that nobody can hold a gathering unless you are praising the president or you are Imam Fati? You know, it's utter nonsense, and it has to stop. And they will tell you, oh, there's a problem. But what problem are they going to bring to the country? It is a constitutionally guaranteed right. All you got to do is provide the security to make sure they, at least, Nakalatura, they're protected.
Loud and clear. Lalla Kani spy.
Gambiana. Welcome to Greenville Estate in the heart of Gunjur, just minutes away from the Gunjur Highway. The estate is located in a serene and nature-oriented environment, which makes it the first community in the Gambia certified by the National Environmental Agency. As part of our Going Green initiative, beautiful trees grace the landscape as you drive into the estate, and we are planting even more trees. Go green and own a piece of our Greenville dream. With 673 plots of land available, you can purchase a plot today and start construction immediately. Find your next home at the Greenville Estate, an affordable estate that suits any budget.
While you have certainly heard about coronavirus, commonly called COVID, you might not know these important facts and ways to protect your family from the illness it can bring. COVID can be very contagious through air, touch, or sharing food. It has been studied at length, and we can share with you what we know so far. Who are we? We are New World International, a non-profit organization located in Washington State, and our mission is to educate people about coronavirus. The coronavirus can cause serious illness and, yes, even death if not treated right away. The symptoms are similar to the common flu: fever, cough, sore throat, and shortness of breath. Many people experience these symptoms and wait too long to seek medical attention. That can be a life-threatening mistake. Certainly, keeping a safe distance from others that appear to have flu symptoms is advisable. It's always better to be safe than sorry. If you develop these symptoms, there won't be any way for you to know that it's just a common flu unless you have a test done. It's best to seek out a doctor, nurse, health worker, or health facility to get advice and treatment if needed. If you are a student, report the conditions to your teacher right away. By all means, stay home if you are sick. Always cover your mouth and nose if you sneeze, and wash up afterward. The contagion spreads with the moisture droplets. As you have heard, there is a vaccine available for coronavirus. Seriously consider receiving a vaccine before you become ill. And above all, consult with your doctor when you do not feel well. For more information, please visit us online at newworldinternational.org.
So, Sarayang, you want us to solve this issue, or we go at it very quickly?
Faramos.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take me offline, can you kind of let me know?
Oh no, I didn't take you offline. Oh, you mean?
All right. So what was your question again, Musa?
No, Mane, do we want to talk about the Usain's interview, or we solve it?
No, I mean, I am open. This is a transparent platform, and we just can talk about anything that you brought forward.
Okay. So you've watched the interview, right?
Yeah, I did.
What's your take on it?
My take?
Yeah.
That was, as I said, there was nothing extraordinary. I was not expecting anything less than what he expressed on the platform. I think what we can say is Fatou Ture asked the right questions, and she pushed and she agitated and try to get as much as possible from Lawyer Dabo. And I think he, as an elderly statesman and as a party leader, he comfort himself. And what I can hear from him, he wants party unity. That's what he wants. The skirmish and the disagreements and everything else. As a leader, I expect him not to come out there and say, "Oh, you know what? This is what's going on." I think what he thinks is, he speaks. If you listen to him in Mandinka, he says, "Not Dimbaya." If Dimbayas are there, if there's a disagreement within your family, or there's somehow a very passionate debate, what you wanted to do is you talk to everyone. The central focus. I think all these other debates is a distraction. When I see the Melvins and Yunus Hydras going at each other, at the end of the day, what does that provide? Who fights Jammeh and all that stuff? Who is out there when dictatorship was not very sexy? I think we lost the debate. There are issues in Gambia every single day that require us to address. The ferry issues, the cement issues, corruption, $40 million that have been siphoned off and given to folks without going through an oversight and procurement process. So he talks about all these things, but more importantly, the flag bearer issue, he says, he's open to debate. He said people need to speak up. He said that in very clear terms. It's your democratic right, it's your right as part of the party or even non-member of the party to speak up and say, what you want to say. But that doesn't mean that it should somehow bring disagreement or some type of animosity within the family of UDP. Okay? Yeah. And he spoke about Yankuba, Rohit, Talib, and all that. So, he says, give me, if I to push him, whether he's going to run or not, he said, give me time until December 20. I need to talk with my family. I need to see. And there's a lot to put together too, and I respect that. I respect that. This is a man who knows what is at stake. Okay. He's not blindly saying this. He knows what the challenges are. And he knows that UDP needs to be in the forefront to ensure that all these things that we sit on this platform, whether it be bringing other people together to form a unified, coalition whatsoever, it is. But we have to come together. I think one thing is, like other people say, "Oh, don't speak." I didn't hear him say that. I didn't hear him a word where he ought to say, "No one there speaks about flag bearer issue." No, But he says the thing is, invite folks to come join UDP. Right. Be receptive to dissident voices, people who wants to. I think it's very, very important. That's what he said.
Yeah. For me, I listened to the interview as well. The first thing that jumped onto me was that he looks well. There's no doubt about that. There's always this issue about age and like right here in the US, there's a lot of talk about Biden. He's what do they call it again? Whether the guy get it up there, in terms of what is the word again? That they usually would attack Biden on.
Sleeping Joe?
No, not Sleeping Joe. In other words, he's not quick on his feet. You listen to Mr. Dabo, really. I think he looks well. I think if age and that is the only consideration, I think the man is he can really run for elections. No doubt about that. The way he answers questions is not like totally missing the point. He's on point on that. That was the first thing that jumped on. Now, there was this other issue about when Fatu pressed him on whether he was going to run. Other people thinking, based on the answers that he has given, that this guy is going to run again. I totally have a different take on it. Like you say, the guy's first, I think, obsession, if you want to call it that, is to make sure that the party stay intact. He understands the infighting that is going on, and he wants to make sure that he controls that. And I think that he was able to achieve that in the interview. Now, pressing him, you're going to run or you're not going to run. If you remember, going back to 2021, I think I was telling this person, the way he has always responded to that question, this time around, it was a little bit different. Maybe this is just me reading more into it. Because at that time, he would always say, look, whether I'm going to run or I'm not going to run, it's not in my hands. It's going to come down to the executive and people. They will select whoever they want that person to run. This time around, he did not say that.
Oh, no, he did.
Not in so many words.
He did.
Hold on.
No, he did.
Yeah, hold on. Yes. No, hold on.
Okay.
And I just want to say, wow, my Mandinka is not very, very good. But what he first said was, look, it's now, I kind of lost my train of thought. This is what he said. He said, for me, whether I'm going to run or not, I'm not going to run. It means I'll have to talk to my family. I have to do consultations, and I have to even consult people within the executive. You know what I mean? Now, where he said that there's going to be a process, was, at the end of the day, anybody who wants to run, there is a selection committee. Anybody can apply. So the reason why I'm saying that, instead of saying, so he's running, it's a big question. Before, the answers that he gave was, it's going to come down to the selection process, whoever they want to select. But he did not start with that. He's saying, I'm going to do a consultation with my family, in other words, so even if he were to be selected and his family advise him not to run, he's not going to run. And that's where I'm coming from. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I think you are reading too much into it. I watched the interview. I rewind it. Actually, I was on a 4-hour flight. So I listened to it. I went back and listened to it. I'm just letting you know that he addressed this. I mean, even Biden, when they asked him about his age before him, he says, I need to consult with my family. And I think here is the greater part of the conversation. I'm not holding any briefs or saying whatsoever. Okay. I think if we are expressing democracy, we wanted to see, I think we also need to respect individual rights and what they are saying, and also the decisions that are forthcoming. There shouldn't be any pressure, right? So Fatura did a great job asking him. No, hold on a second. You said
no,
this,
I think she did. I'm not.
Yeah, I just don't want us to spend too much time on this thing. But what I'm trying to say is, I think he said, Fatura to ask him a question specifically. When is this decision coming? He says, I will make the decision before December 2025. And he also asked him about the selection process. He answered those questions. But one thing that I took away from him, he's saying that this is a process. Everyone has the right to vie for the flag beard. And I think I'm happy. That's assuring that the process will be fair. It will be impartial. But his decision, we got to let him consult with his family, close families. And that is his right. He can do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I am not saying there's something wrong with that. All I'm saying, as an observer of politicians, I look at where they put emphasis. And what that tells me is, like I said, comparing it to prior to 2021, the emphasis was not, I'm going to consult. The emphasis was more on, it's going to go through a process. And if I am chosen, of course, I'm going to run. This one is like, I am going to consult. The consultation has to be done first. I mean, that's just
no, here's what the Mandinka say, Babula Julula Julubula Bala Bekili. Right?
No, it's not.
No, you see, you wanted to look into this, you wanna decode every single. If you say at the beginning of the conversation is the process, I'm gonna consult with my family closer. Then at the end, the process has to take its due course.
Yes, I'm not saying that he did not emphasize the process. So I think that you're totally missing where I'm going with this.
No, I'm not missing. I'm just reading into what you are saying.
Because that's what he said.
What I'm trying to say. No, he said that. Maybe you're not satisfied with what he's saying. Or you want
No. It's not a question of not satisfied. No. That's why I said, I think you are totally.
No, I'm not totally. Musa, honestly speaking, I'm not totally. What I'm trying to say is, if he said that the exception you are saying is in 2021, he said it has to go through a process and all that stuff. But this time around, when he answered the question, he said, no, hold on. I mean, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. And you said, he said, I'm going to consult with my family. And he's going to be close friends and executives. Right? And after he said that, he says the process. And Fatu pushed him. The interview is out there. You can send it to someone who can interpret it different from me.
No, you remember, I contacted you.
No, you did.
You did. No, what I'm saying is, okay, let me be blunt and clear. The point that I'm trying to make was, in 2021, Dabo for sure was gonna be putting his hat in the ring and go through a process. In 2026, that's not necessarily the case. My reading of it. That's all I'm saying. In 2021, 2 years before that, he would tell you the emphasis was, I'm going to go through a process. At that time, Darboe was going to run. In 2026, there's a big question mark based on the answers that he gave. As far as I am concerned,
I respect that. I'm not disputing that fact, Musa. That's your position. That's okay. But what I'm trying to say is there is a lot.
Do you have a take on it, or do we just?
There is a lot to decide.
No, my take, which you just cut off, is on the injustice that is happening. That's my take. Is I didn't know watch it. You know, and my issue.
You have your take. You said everything about
No. I'm going to take the deglu. Just give me a chance to speak, please. I was finally able to speak to one of the kids that was arrested, and that's the Speaker of the Youth Parliament. They were found where they were. They were getting cars because when they were told by Mar and others that they've been dispersed, they were taking a car to go to Bara. They were approached by the police and asked them what they were doing there. They said they were not protesting, they were leaving. They had no placards or anything. You arrest them, put them in a cell for 2 hours, and charge them with unlawful assembly. You see, we have to have a country that is just, a country that is run or ruled according to the Constitution and the dictates of law and rule of law. We cannot have the police to determine who can assemble and when and where, whenever it pleases them. People had concerns about these ferries. The people of Bara had concerns about these ferries. These young people first said that they were going to call a protest, peaceful protest. You deny them a permit. They sent information to all their platforms and said there will be no protest, but they will be gathering at the monument. There should be no, what do they call it, placards or anything. What would the government gain by arresting these young people and just charging them frivolously? And chances are maybe down the line, they will just decide to, to drop the charges again, waste people's time. And these are the things that really piss me off. And it's not because I just love protest. No, I just love justice. People should be treated with respect and with dignity. You cannot just go and just willy-nilly arrest people because they decided to come and complain about their situation. Anything could have happened during those ferries. Gambians could have died from it. What would have been the thing? The gross incompetence in which that institution is being run is a very dangerous thing to the lives of Gambians, the livelihood of Gambians. And that's the thing. But you just arrest these kids, put them in a cell for 2 hours, and say, now you can be bailed, we're going to charge you with something, go home and come back and report again. That is untenable and unsustainable in a democracy. And this is what I have a problem with. It's utter nonsense, and it needs to stop. That's my take.
Okay. I guess, guys, unless we have something else, till next Sunday, we'll be back again for the people, by the people. We talk about issues like we always do. All right.
All right, let me go and watch my Clasico. There is a game on I don't know whether you have ESPN Plus, but Barcelona and Real Madrid is on. I don't think Sarian watches soccer, so he may not even, I've never heard him mention.
You don't watch soccer? I think Sarian does.
No.
Sarian, you're on mute.
Coach, I just want to share the post-debate polls and the viewers' feedback based on what they heard on the platform. Because it's great, it motivates everyone, and it keeps me going next weekend. That way I don't want to take no excuses from Musa.
By the way, next weekend, I know we may be having Seko, but Madi would be joining us next weekend.
Excellent. I would love to hear from Sam Madi. So you're
not going to be around, Sariang? That's what you're saying? Huh? You're not going to be around?
No, I'll be around. I'm saying, it's okay. It's always good to hear feedback from the viewers, especially those who they said here's the feedback. they said today the debate was very spirited, and the callers did well, some not so well. That's what they said.
Lamin Terawale, Mune Musa Jeng 5%. That's good. You're right.
But they said, as usual, coach was on his game. He was very, very fair. They said Musa Jeng at the beginning, the barometer went up a little bit, but at the end it went down and he stayed flat the entire time. And this is just and they said, you know, he said, one guy told me, you know, the formula jazz nak, you know, the formula jazz in Biri UDP. In Biri UDP, the formula jazz.
I did not know. I did not.
Musa, you know, I was telling you about my flags. You know what happened?
Oh, there you go.
That company is also wrong by an inch.
No, I
have Musa 5%, coach 100%, Saya 100%.
The guy is giving me 5%.
If you hadn't mentioned any interview, maybe you would have been 60%. You know. So.
No, coach. I knew that was gonna come. That's why I said, Musa, do you have anything to follow up? Okay. But I'm not sure why. I know he's
no, I'm not. No, let me be absolutely honest. Man, I'm not gonna comment on something that I really haven't really seen it. I have to see it. Man, do my negative program direct, they announce something. First time you should know that by now. Now, Mom, instinctively, he did what he had to do, and I respect that. But you also have to respect, man, I have to demonstrate due diligence.
Okay.
I have to.
What are you talking about, though?
No, based on what Sariang is saying.
Sariang is talking about the interview. Is it?
What interview?
Yeah.
That's what Sariang is saying. You don't even know. Sariang was saying that. How one other you will talk about the interview. That's why he asked you.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to put it on them, but I mean, I just thought. I mean, are we not supposed to talk about that?
No. That's what he's talking. He's not talking about.
Opinion about that, but that doesn't mean.
No, the protest. You may not have known anything about it.
I did not know anything about that. No,
I think I was telling you about it. Man, I spoke to the kids.
No, did you know it, or did you just see somebody commented on it?
I contacted the kids.
No, on the show. Lamin.
On the show, I said, there is report that because I know they were there.
Because sometimes I'm seeing a Bange scroll. Now you react to it based on, man, I'm telling you, Nay, I don't react to something that's come up.
You know what?
No, but to follow up,
wherever they mention arrest,
it's okay.
You would get my reaction.
Huh?
It's okay.
Well, you get your reaction, but also, shouldn't you respect my demonstration of due diligence?
I did not. No, you don't have to say anything, but don't stop me from saying what I have to say. That's
did I stop you? You?
No, you did not. I have never said, Musa, you have to say something.
I stop, Mom, and I would never even attempt to do that.
Well, but the ferry issue is a burning issue. We have to talk about it, and these people went out.
You know what? Suntu dafe muna, you are pro dictatorship now, so
let me put it over there.
No, Musa, so you were able to get the comments and they son.
Of course.
Musa, you know one thing I found interesting about Suntu. Hold on a second, and I read this because usually I take time. I go read their comments post debate, especially when Bob Toure wrote that stuff. He said he enjoyed agitating you while the show is going on. So just to let you know some of the stuff. Suntu, go back there.
No, man, hi.
Yeah,
but I know my man too. I know how.
No, he said he enjoyed this because he saes Suntu will disagree. Suntu cannot get away without watching for the people by the people every Sunday.
I know it. He does.
I never see him coming on Bantaba, but
Adumbai, I really like Adumbai. Why Mangedora Mangebuga am si problema mom. Now the most political strategist is Nakalatura from Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm where he mom. You know, we have the Suntu and Absin too is on the other right. So these people, the one is on the left and the other one is on the right. So, left and right. So,
who is on the right? Suntu.
Suntu is on the right Abson is on the left. He's too liberal for my liking, so that's okay. But we have a fair balance, anyways.
Abson said, all this flag bearer is nothing but waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he says stuff that is true. I mean, he says Ahmad Ba has been allocated land, and I say, so Ahmad Ba Dege. Honestly, but Musajan should be bringing Ahmad Ba on. But
let me tell you something. We can try that, Sariang. Ahmad is not the easiest person to interview. Believe me. He will come here. He will engage in a shouting match.
Yo, Sariang. Ahmad didn't let me word number.
Problem, you may even have a
word.
Oh,
man, I would just love Ahmad Ba to get on this platform.
I'll call him and tell him, you know what, Ahmad, we need you on for the people, by the people.
Oh, man.
You know who I'm trying to get, though?
No,
I'm trying to get the new Minister of Environment. So somehow, if she is as real as she is actually with the Manduar thing, I think Barrow has really found a good minister.
And also Mr. Jufto, coach. I've
been trying to get a hold of him. That's the Minister of Trade.
Mr. Juf, I watched his interview and his interaction with the journalist, man. You know, he's very light-handed. He was laughing and joking, but you know, I think some of the things that he said that I'm kind of like very concerned. He says the commodity pricing, and they had a dashboard for a month. It was laid flat. I don't know all about that, man. So I like to hear more from him. How do you tackle?
I've been trying to get a hold of him. In fact, you know what?
He's a great guy, man. You should bring him on. Let's talk.
I'll ask CD whether he can give me his number, because I know that CD is in DC, apparently. My boy, I met the other day, so I should be able to get his number from those people. You know, so.
So I mean, I guess I will let Sundu has the last.
You got your Atlanta folks on the sideline, though. They're saying that Adu Mbai says you're the best political strategist, man.
Independent and even-handed.
Independent and everything.
Musa Jane, he was just explaining. I know Sundu and his brain. He was just explaining how he normally goes about this issue. He's definitely in the process and will be offline.
So let me do my sign language. Let me do my sign language thing while you're reading that. So Sundu is Sundu. So that's it. He got the last word. I'm happy you share, because he definitely wants you to put that on the screen. So
I did.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Till next Sunday, we'll be back.
They said you should invite Alaji Kurang. Yeah, I think he's the favorite
now.
Oh,
yes. Actually, I told Pasamba that after listening to it, the interview with Kirfatu, with Fatu Kamara, 60 minutes. I'm like, this can be a huge scandal. Maybe
no, it is. You know, some people, it's a fact, because I spoke to someone who doesn't want me to mention his name on this platform, or he's going to disown me. But it is true, Musa. We had a lot of issues. And you know that some people within are still occupying some of these homes without...
No, we need to bring Alaji Kurang.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. He has some stuff to provide. So, I mean, don't dismiss what he's saying.
No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. We need to bring him on.
Yeah.
All right.
What about Tanga? Because I'm going inside and they agitate Torab.
Melvin brother live here is zero.
Who? Who? Melvin? No, I'm going to ask my sister Faru Kamara. And Faru knows that she can call me. We can talk about.
With you, man. We'll talk, bro.
All right, man.